And we use the method, the 3S of teaching. It is Sawal, Samay and Sambandh. Sawal means we ask the learner questions so that they can pick up the things at their own pace. The second is Samay, we give them plenty of time. And the third is Sambandh, we keep a friendly relationship with the children.
Then we follow the FLN, that is foundational literacy and numeracy. In this, we follow the reverse method of teaching.
Ma'am, we are adopting LSRW. This stands for listening, speaking, reading, and then writing. We make sure that writing is the last part.
बहुत अच्छा अनुभव रहा ग्लोबल टीम के साथ.
It's a very nice project that is initiated by Smita Gandhi ji.
I am very pleased to say Global Dream Campaign to spread literacy.
शिक्षा जो है ये मनुष्य के लिए वरदान है.
Learners of the school can go to them and can teach them or can make them educated.
And we use the method, the 3S of teaching. It is Sawal, Samay and Sambandh. Sawal means we ask the learner questions so that they can pick up the things at their own pace. The second is Samay, we give them plenty of time. And the third is Sambandh, we keep a friendly relationship with the children.
Then we follow the FLN, that is foundational literacy and numeracy. In this, we follow the reverse method of teaching.
Ma'am, we are adopting LSRW. This stands for listening, speaking, reading, and then writing. We make sure that writing is the last part.
बहुत अच्छा अनुभव रहा ग्लोबल टीम के साथ.
It's a very nice project that is initiated by Smita Gandhi ji.
I am very pleased to say Global Dream Campaign to spread literacy.
शिक्षा जो है ये मनुष्य के लिए वरदान है.
Learners of the school can go to them and can teach them or can make them educated.
yang kehen sepeda dan kaliwas sa kami lagi jawab bas
India's new education policy and Nipun Bharat mission have given the highest importance to foundational literacy and numeracy. The classic problem in education has been speed, the speed of learning. Even after 3 years of schooling, most children do not know how to read, write, or do basic numeracy. Without these skills, children lag behind and eventually lose interest. But there is a new disruptive
Can ask. I know Sunita has been involved in education for a very long time indeed, probably since before I was born, I think. So while we're looking forward to your introductions, Sunita, over to you.
There's no volume at all. Nobody can hear anything. Okay. Please confirm that you can hear us. Sorry about the technical issues. Just indicate that you can hear us, please.
It wouldn't be a proper training without some technical issues up front, so hopefully those are sorted out immediately. If you can just give us an indication that we're audible.
Yes, we are audible. That's
Wonderful.
Great. Oh, there's no audio. Patricia is saying there's no audio. Okay, but then Mayank ji is saying you can hear. Patricia, I hope you can hear us. Patricia from Zimbabwe. Yeah. So I'm absolutely delighted that we can do this training of trainers. It is basically empowering you with what we know here, what we've been discovering, and you have been discovering along with us, since many of you have already attended, and I hope all of you have already attended a previous MOOT session for teachers. So a trainer is a very important person. We call them ambassadors of change or ambassadors of ALfA. And we want to empower you so you can be our ambassadors in your countries and across the world. So we had recently an example of a trainer, Suzanne Rajkumar from Honduras, participate with us in the training for people from teachers and principals from Peru. We're working with Arcabeta, an NGO in Peru. So I think it can begin anywhere. It can be small, it can be big. It doesn't matter. The size is not important. The important thing is that we are ambassadors of change and we are actually making change happen. And as we can all agree that change is the watchword. Change is necessary, very much. It has always been necessary, but even more so today. Because we find that after all these decades and decades of teaching and, even before the COVID, that roughly 60% of the children in the developing world could not read. And this was a higher figure for some of the countries. After the COVID, it is 90% in some countries, and the World Bank, UNESCO estimate that 70% of 10-year-olds in low and middle income countries that cannot read at this point in time, post-COVID. That's a crying shame. And I think we can do something about it. And that's why we're here, emboldened by our experimental work, our implementation beyond the experimental work, and our large-scale application of what we call ALfA, which is accelerating learning for all. That means all children should do better, number one. Number two, all children should learn a lot faster. In fact, we're saying 10x faster. So what would take 3 years, we're saying you can accomplish in 45 days. And that is definitely 10x, because number of days in an academic year is quite a few, and children are learning every single day. So 45 days is all it takes to finish our thin booklets of ALfA. So whether they're printed or they're given in the electronic form, they are very thin, and they take not very long at all for the children to master on their own. And on their own is the key thing to understand. I think many, many teachers have difficulty understanding that children can actually learn on their own. And so your job as a trainer would be to make them believe two things. One, that we've been dumbifying our children and they can learn so much more and so much quicker. And that they need to believe that children's potential is innately more than we've ever given them credit for. Then the second thing that we need to believe is in the ALfA process. As a trainer, you are the stalwarts, you are the representatives of this ALfA pedagogy, and you have to really have in your heart and mind the belief that this is actually working and will do wonders. Because that belief then translates into belief of the teacher, and then the whole system responds in a similar way. I was very, very pleased when I went 3 days ago now to a government school which has 1,000 children and some 2 teachers. They've hired some voluntary-based staff who are coming to the school and very, very low payment, but the government-hired teachers are just 2, and with 1,000 children. And the headmaster did his own little trick. I think it's okay to do once in a while your own little trick. And I was so pleased to know that just in 5 revisions of the first book over a 15-day period, that these 11 to 14-year-olds were able to read in these just 15 odd days. By the 22nd day and 30th day for another child, 11 to 14 years of age, who knew no letters at all at the beginning of the process. One of them knew a few, but basically majority of them did not. And they are reading grade 4 book fluently and with understanding. So I think this is something we need to believe in. The ALfA process is working. And this headmaster did something novel and different. Like I had said to them that, look, I mean, obviously the books belong to the school, so don't give them to the children in their bags. And secondly, that books belong between 2 children. So not to be given each child a book. And so that he did, but he did go through a sort of extraordinary measure of giving these handful of children who are 11 to 14-year-olds coming into schooling after missing their education, he gave them those books to work at home. And these kids are now faster and know more and can understand more than the children who've been studying throughout in that school. So I think ALfA can do wonders, and the principal is obviously an ally. Now he is a believer. So we want to make many more believers out there. I think that's the job that we will do. And with belief will come a lot of wonders. Of course, we'll fine tune with your inputs. We will look at, in your country context as you're implementing change, what kinds of issues come up, we need to be highly connected. As you are the pioneers, you're going to be the very first lot of trainers on behalf of Devi Sansthan and representatives of ALfA. So I'm really looking forward to empowering you, both Tom and I, to make sure that you have all the wherewithal and the belief and the confidence and the know-how to become the best possible trainers in the world. And I know you will. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to our dialogue. Of course, as Tom will remind us, I'm sure that we will have a quiz at the end. And the quiz is somewhat different to the quizzes you may have taken for MOOT. There are slightly different questions in it. And regardless, we'll also be giving you on a WhatsApp group and otherwise some reading material for you to study. There's a teacher's handbook which you'll be getting, because that's a handbook you'll be studying and then passing on. So we'll be empowering you in many, many different ways, including how to reach out people online in a modality such as this. So you can go through Zoom into Facebook Live or YouTube Live, or you can go from what we are using is Restream, and sometimes we have used StreamYard. And so we'll empower you in those technical aspects and in fact host them for you, and you can be at your end, be present. So initially we'll do a lot of handing of holds.
Holding of hands, I think.
Holding of hands. I'm a slightly dyslexic, you see, so this happens. I have to think twice. Anyway, so holding of hands and making sure that you have no reasons to worry as you're delivering what is the most important, which is the content of the ALfA training. And with that said, let's begin.
Absolutely.
Over to you, Tom.
So I want to just confirm first with you guys as to how many of you have already been to one of our previous Massive Open online trainings. So I'm just going to put that as an audience poll question now. If you can just vote on that as to whether you've come to one of our trainings before. If not, you are absolutely most welcome still. But I'm guessing and thinking that most of you here have already attended one of our trainings and have enjoyed it, and that's why you're here to learn how you can empower others. So I'm just putting that audience poll up, and meanwhile I want to just welcome you that it's fantastic. We've got people here from all around the world. I see there's Essie here from Texas, US. There's Martin from Sweden. There's Adnan Bhai from Kanpur, much closer than Sweden. This is Patricia from Zimbabwe. We've got quite a few people from Zimbabwe, so that's wonderful to have you. There's Dr. Nail Desai from Gujarat. It's a state of India. There's quite a few people from different states of India I'm seeing, and that's absolutely wonderful to have you. Wherever you're joining us from, it is fantastic to be with you today. So I put the audience poll up and looking forward to your votes there, just so that we know where we stand today. We've planned for a lot of new material and a lot of, I guess, covering the same content in a different way to empower you at a deeper level. But we just want to check how many of you have already been to one of our MOOTs before. So 39 people have voted. That's great. I think we can close the poll because that's a pretty representative sample. So let's just close the poll and check. I really love this audience poll feature in YouTube. Very easy to gather information from this. So the poll is closed and we'll just see the results of that. So 43% have attended a session before, 33% are here for the first time, and 22% have attended 2 or more sessions. So that's a nice mix. That's great. I'm glad we've got some first timers here as well. For the first timers, I would encourage you to also go and check out our previous events. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see previous Massive Open online trainings in both English and Hindi. And so just go and check those out because there's a lot of good resources, a lot of good videos there. Today we'll be covering some new ground and we'll also be going deeper, specifically with the mind of helping you to become an ALfA trainer and an ALfA ambassador. So final audience poll question before we move forwards. I want to just ask you how, I want to ask you how you are involved in education because we want to know a little bit more about you. So I'm putting that audience poll question there as well. Whether are you a teacher, are you a principal or administrator of a school, do you work in an NGO, or are you a policymaker or a government official? So yeah, just so that we can get to know each other a little more. We're keen to know who you all are, what roles you're in. So I'm just putting that question up as well. And so looking forward to your vote there. Sunita, I know we need all hands on deck for this, right? It's not like we are only looking for teachers or only looking for government officials. I think we need all hands on deck. Would you agree?
I so agree with you, Tom, because basically we need to work at all levels. When we talk about being in the trenches like you are in slums and working with the children and adults in the slum, that is a very necessary step because we make difference in the lives of so many, and we should. So that's whopping amount of gratitude to you for doing that kind of work.
Yes.
And I think that whether it is one child or a million children, every aspect of it matters. And here the million children will come from the government. So at the
Yes.
other end is the government, the policymakers, and I hope many of them will become our trainers, and therefore they'll understand the workings of ALfA, which is going to be so vastly different for what has been happening in the past, because here we're giving agency to the children to run their show by themselves. So yes, we need people at the government level, and we need people in the
All
trenches, and we
levels.
need people all in between.
Absolutely. So let's close that poll as well. 36 of you have voted. So if you're watching, please do vote, because this training is only going to be fun if it's interactive. So we always appreciate how highly active you are in the chat and in the polls. So I think we can close this poll as well, and we want to see the results. So it looks like we've got 43% of us are teachers. That's great. 35% are principals, 21% NGO, and no government officials. That's a shame, Sunita. Next time, we'll hopefully get some. But as we said, it's fantastic to have you with us, whether you are principal, teacher, a student, policymaker. Absolutely wonderful to have you with us. Veena said she's been working in slums as a principal for the last 23 out of 33 years. That's fantastic, Veena. Slums definitely have a special place in my heart also, as I am also a slum dog. So, fantastic. So let's just, since some of us are here for the first time, I would love it if we have a quick recap of what ALfA, Accelerating Learning for All, is all about. So we're going to keep up the level of interactivity with another question for you. We want to ask you what, in your view, are the key principles of ALfA? Right? Most of you have been here before to multiple trainings. So what is it that has most struck you about ALfA? Why are you here again? You've attended 1 or 2 trainings and you're back again. There must be something in it for you. So what are the key principles of ALfA that have struck you? We are looking forward to hearing your responses. This will be helpful also for those who are attending for the first time. So we want to hear your thoughts in the chat. What are some of the key principles of ALfA? We want to hear this as a rough overview before we move on to how to become an ALfA trainer, because obviously we need to know what ALfA is before we can become an ALfA trainer. So I'm looking forward to your responses in the chat, and I'm going to be reading them out very soon. And meanwhile, I'd like to also pull up my PowerPoint as we just take a very quick recap of some of the topics we've discussed in the previous MOOT. So I'm just pulling up my PowerPoint, and meanwhile looking forward to your responses on what the key principles of ALfA are. Trainers training. So it's a very special event. It's our first time we're running this. So a little bit experimental, but I think I'm sure it will go well with your support. I'm having some technical difficulty with, okay, now I'm clicking, perfect, great. Okay, so yeah, we're asking what the key principles of ALfA are. So I'll turn to Sunita while we're waiting for some responses to turn in. Sunita, if you were to sum it up, it's here on screen, but how would you sum up the key principles of ALfA?
Okay, so basically there's a new normalization in the class. That's really important to understand, that we are giving agency to the children, and therefore they're working in pairs on their own, and it's not giving to them or teaching them, but it's drawing out from them. And it's not drawing out so that they are talking to us, but it's drawing out in the sense they're working with each other and bringing out from each other. They're taking responsibility for each other. They're taking turns, and they learn these new ways of interacting within a class and learning within a class. If they don't know something, can't figure it out, they go to another pair. They don't run to the teacher. So teacher roles are vastly different. Teachers here a galvanizer, and that means that the teacher is basically motivating the children to work with themselves, teaching them how to work best with themselves and how to learn the concepts on their own. There are many other things of a teacher as a galvanizer, but certainly the roles are vastly different. And there's also what we say, the language of encouragement and not praise. So that's a vastly different way of interacting with the children. We don't praise, we don't go around the class and saying, oh, well done, oh, this needs to be done better, oh, how come this and how come that? We sit in a corner and we observe. We get up once in a while to take a video or a picture, but otherwise we plan the next steps, like what are the things the children have to bring tomorrow, what alternative materials can they bring, climate conscious materials they can bring, and having those discussions with the children. The teachers also come in to take feedback to see where the learning has landed after the children have gone through a certain set of modules. So there are a lot of new things and a lot of new principles and guiding principles in ALfA.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of you have hit the nail on the head as I'm looking in the chat. So I want to highlight a few answers here as well. Ropa said, acting on the mind, not on the floor. That's a really good phrase. So the teacher is still very active, but they're much more active in terms of thinking and planning the class, a bit less active on the floor. The children are becoming more active on the floor. Pooja has mentioned that we go from known to unknown. That's right. And children are working in pairs. Absolutely. Rushita said, it's accelerated learning. Speed is the motto. We don't want to lose the confidence of the learners. Absolutely right. So it's a much faster approach to literacy and numeracy. In just 45 days, we've seen kids mastering reading newspapers, doing above grade level maths, and the kids themselves feel so delighted when they achieve these gains. I'm seeing Varsha said, learning, if it does not give fulfillment to the child and contentment to the teacher, is a wasted intelligence. Work done under ALfA nails the pain area. Yeah, I agree, Varsha. So we're talking about literacy and numeracy, but we're also talking about more than that. We're talking about the 8C skills, right? Creativity, critical thinking, collaboration. Lavanya said, it's to provide an effective bridge course for children. So we're talking about the learning gap that's opened up, terrible learning gap, bridging that gap, helping everybody to achieve foundational literacy and numeracy. So I really appreciate your answers here. I think you're spot on. It's active learning, it's paired learning, concrete to abstract. A lot of good comments coming in here. If I just show you once again this slide, I know you're all familiar with it, but we like talking about this paradigm shift in education, moving from the landline to the smartphone. Now, we've seen this in communications technology. We've seen this in transport, from the horse cart to the car to the train and so forth. We've seen it in medicine. We've seen it in so many areas of life. But in education, unfortunately, our system has not changed much in a long time. So we're hoping that we can all be that change and that ALfA will help usher in this new educational era. In terms of what ALfA actually entails in literacy, you'll remember these 3 key questions. The children are building off their existing knowledge by asking each other questions. So, Sunita, I would be asking you, what is this?
This is a car.
And what's the first sound of car?
Car, car.
And what's the next picture?
Apple.
And first sound of apple?
Apple, ah.
And next picture, final picture?
Tub.
And first sound of tub?
Tub, t.
Great. So can you join these sounds together?
K, a, t, cat.
Nice one. So you can see that's ALfA in a real nutshell. It's building from known to unknown, as you said, moving from pictures to sounds to words. And that's within the very first day that the children are learning to read words, which is a tremendous boost to their confidence. It's a tremendous motivator to their learning. Yeah.
So I wanted to say that when you look at the previous slide, this is the exact thing that the children are doing on day 1, as Tom mentioned. It is not after teaching the letters of the alphabet. So normally we assume that the way of teaching would be first the letters and then letter sound, combinations if you're doing phonics, and then adding of the sounds comes later. So that whole process takes, at least the learning of the letters can take a year, half a year or more. And even then, if you put a stack of letters like on cards and put them in front of the child and say, pick out the letter T, they may not be able to pick out the letter T rather. And that's because they've learned it in a sequence and they remember that sequence. And if you look at the learning of reading, majority of the children are having trouble with reading all over the world. It's not just in one country or another, it's all over the world. So why is that happening? I think people have been wondering and questioning. But certainly it will not bridge the gap, as some of you talked about, because if you use the same old methods, it'll take the same old amount of time. And the reason might be, and Michael is here, welcome Michael from Sweden. The reason might be Patricia from Zimbabwe, who's heading a school, the academics of a school, a Portuguese school in Zimbabwe. and also Inger from Norway, and all of you here from different countries, from Zimbabwe as well, many of you, and from across India. So it's a delightful, pleasure for me to have you there. But you'll all agree that there's the whole language approach to teaching, which is basically sight words, A for apple, B for boy, and so forth, that we all learned English with. Of course, we survived, we did it, but majority of the children are having trouble learning to read in that way. Imagine if that was done away with and there was a different way. The second way that children are learning is phonics. And phonics is proving to be a little faster, a lot better. But even phonics has a lot of rote learning at the beginning, especially. For example, B says ba, or C says ka. So, the C, they don't know, the children, that's unknown. And ka is also not deriving from C. As you saw, here C says ka, but we're saying cat, we are not saying C says ka, we're saying car, ka, right? So car, the child knows. If a child doesn't know and English isn't the first language, we're not talking just about English here. This is just a way we are explaining the whole process using English as a case in point. So car is an object the children know in their environment, and they can on their own derive the first sound of car, which is ka. We don't need to tell them car says ka or car ka. We just ask them the question, what is this? And the child says, this is a car. Say, okay, what do you hear as the first sound in car? And if they don't understand the concept of first sounds, we need to explain it using other objects in the environment before we get back to car. And then they know, okay, car says ka, apple says a, and tub says ta. And this is the very first lesson. We don't need to teach the letters of the alphabet. And so this is the third way. So you've got the whole language way, you've got the phonics way, and the third way is the known to unknown rather than unknown to unknown. B says ba, both are unknown to the child. So they're learning the rote way. And we're just using, by and large, there are three things that are known here. Car is known. First sound they can derive, hence known. Three sounds they can add because it's a cognitive process, that's known. So in essence, the only thing they don't know is that C, the letter C, has a sound ka. But we don't need to teach that, is what we discovered. They can go straight to this, and in first 9 pages, they're learning the entire alphabet. That means in 9 days, they know the alphabet, but not just alphabet, they're reading some 200 words at the same time. And this is really remarkable. So the first 9-10 days, children are able to read about 200 CVC words, which is unheard of. And this, young children to adults who are having struggle with reading. I don't know if Joanne is here, but if you are, please make yourself known, because she is using this exact method to teach adult learners in Chicago.
Wow, very impressive. So as you say, this is a very different approach to both whole language and phonics. It's a revolutionary third way, as we say. So I just want to acknowledge lots of further good thoughts that have come into the comments. Martin said something really nice. He said, the learner-learner relationships carry the juice of learning rather than the traditional teacher-learner relationships. Absolutely spot on, Martin. Patricia also said collaboration, communication, creativity, and so on. 21st century skills are built by ALfA. That's exactly right. So when we can't teach these skills from a textbook, we can only teach them through a process, and the paired learning process of ALfA is really great at developing those skills. Also want to acknowledge Nisha was requesting that we talk in Hindi. So I'm sorry, Nisha, आज तो हम हिंदी में बात नहीं कर पाएंगे, but we've got a lot of international guests here. But you can please check out some of our existing MOOTs. On the 14th and 15th of March, we ran Hindi training, so you can check out the recordings of those as well. So I think, yeah, you guys are very familiar with this and you're hitting all the right points. If I just show you my PowerPoint once again, in terms of the compare and contrast between ALfA and the traditional education system. So as similar to what Martin was saying, we can see this in the difference between these two classes as I bring them on screen. So you can see in the one class, the teacher is the focus of attention. The children are all facing the teacher, whereas in the ALfA classroom, the kids are facing each other, right? They're working in pairs. And that's the key difference, really. The traditional classroom, okay, it may be child-centered at times, whereas the ALfA classroom is fully child-led and it's fully in pairs, which means that the traditional classroom may have a student-teacher ratio of like 40:1, whereas ALfA, it's 1:1 because they're working in pairs. The traditional classroom, okay, there'll be sporadic activities if and when we get the time, once we've completed the curriculum. Whereas in ALfA, the activities are the key mode of learning. That's how the children learn. It's not abstract, it's not theoretical, they're learning with their hands. So those are some of the key differences which as you've put on. And I guess I want to now, as we talk about becoming an ALfA trainer, right? We've got a bit of a sense of what ALfA is, how it's different to the traditional education system. We want to ask you now, you're here, we're very excited for you to be with us. Why do you want to become an ALfA trainer? What is it that's motivating you to be here? Because Sunita, I know lots of people, it's a Saturday evening or maybe a Saturday morning, wherever you are, but lots of people would rather be out at the movie, at the pub. For me, I'd be rather playing soccer, but still, I'm sacrificing my time, and you're all sacrificing your time to be here. So we want to hear from you. Why do you want to become an ALfA trainer? What is it that's motivating you, that's driving you? So we're really interested to hear your responses here. I just want to also acknowledge, Martin said, yeah, the image of two students exploring the known and unknown together is invigorating. Yeah, thanks. Ananda Reddy said, hope the new classrooms we build and furnish will change to make collaborative learning the main mode to follow. Absolutely. So it is also about the physical environment of the classroom, definitely. Sunita and I have recently been visiting some government schools, and we see when the classroom is so packed and the desks are arranged in a certain way, it's quite difficult to pursue paired learning properly. So,
there's a question from Aisha Siddiqui. I want to train my own school teachers along with the parents so that I can make my community to make a better place. Sorry, before that also, that was a good comment, but Mansi Mahapatra has written, it would be helpful if you also speak about teaching kids in villages who have not seen car, road, etc. So I want to point out that this is not about how to teach English. It's about how to teach language in any language. So we have our toolkit in 30 different languages. So 15 of them are from India, of which one happens to be English. And we have it in Hindi, we have Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, we've got it in Gurumukhi, we've got it in Assamese, we've got it in Odia, we've got so many languages in which the toolkit is existing. So yes, please understand that though we are teaching you in English and we're using the English toolkit, it is not about teaching English. Yeah, I hope, Mansi, that's clear, and please do refer back and respond to this in case you're still finding that a challenge. We have done training in Hindi, and we've used the Hindi books there, the Hindi toolkit, and that is available on our YouTube channel for Devi Sansthan. And if you go into the 14th and 15th dates, you will see MOOT training for those dates, and they were both for literacy and numeracy in Hindi. So there, even the numeracy was done in Hindi. Yeah.
And I'm just seeing, as people are responding to the question, why do you want to become an ALfA trainer? Some really nice responses coming in. So I think, where should I start? Ropa said she wants to work less on the floor and she wants to work for her community and country to benefit at large. That's fantastic. Pooja also said, I want to do something for my country. As padega India, tabhi to badega India. Why not? And that translates roughly as, when India reads, India leads, you could say.
Absolutely. Brilliant, yes.
Not a bad translation, hey?
No, it's brilliant. Well done, Tom, on the spot. Very good.
Hawa said, I want to teach my students and fellow teachers. Absolutely. So we are all lifelong learners. We all get to learn new things every day. So it's very exciting to become a trainer. And he said, I've started a play school. Before I want to lead, I want to learn and update myself. So some of you are pioneers. You're starting your own schools. That's really exciting. Veena said, the learners are very active and interested in learning. Great. Bueller said, I love to assist children in reading and numeracy in my country. Wonderful. I know, Sunita, if you ask me of my journey to become a trainer, I was a bit reluctant at first. I started out as a teacher in the slum, and I was a bit reluctant to become a trainer, but in the end, you dragged me in. And now there's no going back.
No, there's
because
no going back.
In a sense, it's really a lot of fun to be at the grassroots, right? To be in the classroom, to be with kids. It's really fun and it's really meaningful. But also to make a bigger impact, sometimes we need to step out of our comfort zone and also train others, because there's only so much we can do ourselves, whereas together we can achieve a lot more. Beatrice said, I want to train other teachers, villages, and my community for self-development. Fantastic. So that's wonderful. We are so excited that you are motivated to be here with us today. As I just pull up my PowerPoint once again, just to give you a sense of the structure of today's session, since it's going to be a bit different from previous MOOTs. So basically, why we need more trainers. We need you because we want to expand this program. We want to reach many, many more people. There's only so much that Sunita and I can do sitting here in Lucknow. We need your help to reach many places where we cannot reach. And that includes lots of different parts of India, and it includes all the countries of the world. We also, I'm sorry to say, I only speak 3 languages, and I think Sunita, maybe you're more multilingual than me, but we don't speak many of the languages of the world. So we need your help to reach this training to in French, in Spanish, in lots of different Indian languages, Marathi, Oriya, so forth. So especially if you speak, if you're multilingual, if you speak many other languages, we are very keen to have you on board. Because as Sunita shared just earlier, ALfA isn't about teaching English per se. It's about teaching literacy, and especially mother tongue literacy. So we really need your help to develop these training materials and to deliver these trainings in as many different languages as possible.
By the way, those who are worrying about Hindi, I totally understand. In Hindi, the words are drawn from pictures known to the Indian students. For example, battak ba sapera sa ba sa bus. So it's actually pictures known to them, and we modify those pictures based on geographies. For example, in Oriya, there's a different set of pictures at times.
That's right. So I do encourage you from the Hindi belt, please do check out our materials. We'll be posting links to them. You can check out on our website. Our materials are available in 30 languages because we've had help from great people like yourselves to replicate it. And if it's not available in your mother tongue yet, we need your help to get it out there. We're targeting, I think, 100 languages, are we, Sunita? That's very ambitious,
yes.
But I think with your help, we can get there. So great. So in terms of the benefits of this whole process for you, if I just pull my slide up again. So essentially, this is an opportunity to network. I know I've really enjoyed becoming a trainer because I get to meet so many great people, teachers, administrators, policymakers. It helps us to gain a deeper insight into the education system. When we go and visit schools in different places and run trainings, we learn a lot ourselves. I know I've learned so much by ALfA training. It also, to be very very blunt about it, it looks good on your CV as an ALfA ambassador. And most importantly, of course, it's helping to shape the future of education. Now, I just want to put this up front here, that we are providing our program for free, right? We want to offer trainings for free. We want to provide our materials for free. So in that same spirit, we're looking for volunteers as trainers, right? So Devi Sansthan can't pay you, but we are hoping that you can just share some of your time. We're not expecting anybody to work full time, but yeah, to share some of your time to help empower others.
So here is your leveraging your knowledge and sharing that in a very short setting, like 3.5-hour setting like we do. And in that, being able to empower many more people. So we've had our training, the very first training, where about 26,000 views are there on March 9th and 10th and 11th. So I think that, small or big, you're able to reach out and make a difference immediately with just 3.5 hour of your time investment. Once you're ready, of course. And then after that, if you're doing physical training, we say, okay, don't do more than 6 hours in a day, 3 hours for literacy and 3 hours for numeracy. So that would be a whole day. So that can be done as well. And you can also make it shorter and do like over a period of time. Let's say you do literacy or parts of literacy and numeracy on day 1, and then you revisit a week or 10 days later, the remaining. And visit the classrooms. That would be also really, really nice. Yeah. Because as a trainer, you have to make sure that people are understanding. It's really tough in the beginning. What does this normalization look like for grades 1 and 2 especially? The teachers worry. Will the children be able to sit and work in pairs? And we've seen so many amazing classrooms where they are doing, this paired work. But some teachers will fear it at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you're there to build their confidence as well.
Absolutely. I just want to also acknowledge Annie. I knew that lots of you would be highly multilingual, And Annie is a good example of that. She's proficient in English, Hindi, Punjabi, Haryanvi, and Bangla. Wow, nice.
Wow.
So fantastic. So just as I pull my slide up again, I realized that a big doubt in many of our minds is, okay, how effective can online training be? And that's, it was a question in my mind as well when we were starting the MOOT. But I want to share with you some of the feedback we received from our first MOOT, as I just pull up my slide here. So basically, thanks to the participation of people like you, the MOOT, the online training modality, can be hugely successful, right? It can be highly interactive and highly effective. So just, I want to pull up my slide here, please, to show some stats from that first training. So it gathered about 25,000 views, YouTube views, across the 13 sessions total. There were 50 plus countries from all 6 continents who participated. I think there was 1 or 2 Australians, 26 states of India, and 72% of people expressed interest in becoming an ALfA trainer. Obviously, some of that is you guys here today. And just looking at the bottom row, like lots of people rated it very highly effective. 86% they wanted to definitely use ALfA in their class. 93% found it to be effective. 97% passed the quiz and were shared access to the materials. And 99% said they had takeaway points. So, it's not that we are highly specialized trainers or anything. This can be you, right? You can be in this chair, you can be delivering a training, and it can be highly effective if you follow some of the key principles of how to train, which is what we're going to be discussing today. So again, showing my slide for the basic structure of the session. So we've divided up into 5 parts today. First, we'll be looking a bit about what the role entails, so your roles and responsibilities. Secondly, we'll be looking at what skills this requires, right? I know you guys are highly skilled, so we'll be talking a bit about what the key skills are of a trainer. Thirdly, and quite important, we'll be sharing what materials we'll be giving you. So we'll be giving you a trainer's kit, which has all the videos which we've shared with you in previous MOOTs. It has the teacher handbook, PowerPoints like this PowerPoint, and a bunch of other really useful resources. So we'll be sharing that kit with you, what's inside it. And then for maybe the bulk of the session, we'll be doing a lot of different literacy and numeracy activities with you. Because as you know, activities are really the heart and soul of the training. So we want you to have a wide repertoire of ALfA activities, which you can do in your trainings, depending on the context. And I know that will be a lot of fun together. Don't you think, Sunita?
I think it should be, yes. Right. I wish we could do more in the beginning, though,
Yeah.
Tom.
Oh, we can break it up as we go.
Yes.
So I think as we look at what the roles and responsibilities are, right? How this is going to look for you guys. Basically, we're looking at a couple of different things, 4 things, sorry. So in-person trainings, online trainings, and networking and coordinating. So these are some of the key roles that we're looking for your help with. In terms of in-person training, in terms of online trainings, it can be something like we're doing today, which is using Restream or StreamYard and going live to YouTube or Facebook Live and so forth. It can also be on Zoom, and we'll be there. Our team will be there to help you with the technicalities of that, to set up the trainings, to host the trainings and so forth, at least initially. And typically, it's something like a 3-hour session for literacy and a 3-hour session for numeracy, including a quiz at the end of each. In-person training, we definitely need your help with that because we can't travel too widely. We want to keep our carbon footprint low as well, okay? So not so many flights. And physical trainings are often, can be quite a variable size, anywhere from 10 to 100 participants, and sometimes are a bit shorter as well. I run a lot of trainings in schools, which are just a 1-hour workshop. Sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're a full-day workshop. So physical trainings are also a lot of fun. And in terms of the flow of a typical training, Sunita, would you like to dwell on this a bit of how we usually structure one of our trainings?
Right. So basically, when we did physical training, for example, in Shamli, it began with an opinion survey. So that was a Google form, and we floated it with the participants. And we got to know a priori, like Tom did in the beginning, that what are your thoughts about, what are the takeaways from ALfA for you? And here we're asking about opinions on their mindset about, can children learn, faster, for example, or whatever, how long does it take to learn? the alphabet. So some kind of and views about what if, for example, if they're given carte blanche opportunity to do things their own way, what would be different? We also ask things like, what in your view will improve attendance, because that is a huge problem in some of the places, and especially in Shamli and many parts of India. So, and they gave some very interesting thoughts. For example, one of the thoughts was that it should be a fearless classroom. So obviously the teacher was feeling that children are not coming to class because they're fearing reprimand or not feeling good enough about themselves. So I think those are some of the things that give an insight into our training and our approach to training. Then we go into the norms. At this point, I would do that, is the normalization process, give them an insight into what it looks and feels like, some results, some ideas for how they should be looking at it, and then of course we go into numeracy. I've preferred numeracy before literacy, and because it has a lot of fun activities and they really enjoy. But then if your numeracy is going to be or rather literacy is going to be in the afternoon, you can also swap, because afternoon they're tired after lunch, so you have to figure it out. You don't want anybody to be too tired. And we always have teachers sitting in pairs. That's really important. I just did a training yesterday, and I think Tom was also helping me there, and some others. So we use the teachers themselves as a resource. And I think that we can do in a physical setting more than we can do in an online setting. So basically, we asked them to come up. The screen had the visual for the particular module, and they came and explained, and they read out the prompts, and they acted out the prompts. So we want the teachers to understand how to give the task or explain the prompts to the children so they know what their task is in a pair. So it's like winding a toy and leaving it for a long time. So in Hindi, for example, it takes the first 10 pages, the children are learning to read something like 1,000 words in just 10 pages. And the job of the teacher is to teach them how to learn by themselves and then step back. Because now they've bound them up and they can actually do those 10 pages, 1,000 words on their own. We don't need someone else to help them. So that's the key thing. And then we go into, of course, the roles of a teacher. We do then a feedback session, a question and answer session, and a feedback session following that. Sometimes the feedback session is like a Google form and they fill it on their mobiles. Sometimes it is also a group feedback. So you say, how many of you thought this, or how many of you thought that, and so forth. So how many marks will you give out of 10? And in that training, apparently the trainers, I was not there, the trainers got 12 out of 10.
Remarkable.
And a big clap. So I think that's always very affirming when you're the trainer. So my trainers felt very elated, and they reported back to me how the trainees thought it was very helpful to them. And they went back very enthused. The other thing is that when they go back to the classes, they begin immediately on ALfA. Otherwise, they forget. So in our case, that happened also in Shamli, where the teachers, because there were some holidays that immediately came along, and then there was the Independence Day of India. And so the end result was they could not begin till August, while we gave training end of June. So we gave another training at the end of August to empower them once more, because it should be close enough to their implementation so they don't forget. It's too many things to remember. When it's fresh and they're enthused and they're totally excited about it, they go and try it out. And if they strike success, which is why it's so important to go and observe them right then and there, just for a few days, if you're physically available, to go and observe them, and they feel enthused further, and you can have a session with them as to how it can be better still.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you've elaborated beautifully, there's a really clear structure to our trainings, right? So we're moving from icebreaker, the introductions. We're looking at the outcomes of ALfA. We want to start with the outcomes. Then we're getting the teachers into pairs. We're doing a lot of activities together. We're reflecting on those activities. We're showing some videos and we're discussing those videos. And then we've got a recap and Q&A and quiz. So it's a very clear logical structure, which we'll also be sharing with you. If I just pull up my slides once again. So in terms of the third aspect of it, okay, this is, the flow of a training. In terms of the third aspect, so along with online trainings in languages which we don't speak, in-person trainings in places where we can't go, a third really key aspect of your role as an ALfA ambassador is to help us with networking and coordinating. So initially, probably we'll be contacting you as we hear interest about ALfA from your part of the world. We'll be contacting you and asking for your help in running training. But then as word spreads, you will probably also become very famous and you may be contacted directly. You can also reach out to your existing networks. Some of you were already mentioning you wanted to do this. You wanted to reach out to your local schools and help them, especially those serving the underprivileged. We're also going to need your help in liaising with the government and other stakeholders locally. So we do a lot of that, Sunita and I, visiting government offices and meeting with different NGOs. So we need your help wherever you are, because we cannot go everywhere to liaise with these key stakeholders. So we need your help in reaching out and collaborating and partnering. So those are kind of the three key roles which we have in mind for you. So I just want to hear your responses in the chat. I'm going to post the question of which of those roles do you feel most comfortable with? Which of them do you feel most excited about? I'm hoping the answer is all three, but also if not, that's totally fine. But we want to hear your thoughts. Which of these roles are you most comfortable with? Are you most excited by? So in-person training, online training, and networking. Which of these three do you feel most enthused by? I've put that question up and I'm looking for that question is going up. So we're looking forward to your responses. Which of these roles do you feel most enthused by, most confident in? Which do you most want to do? So we're waiting for your responses here. And Aisha has said networking. Okay, great. Ananda Reddy, the inner genius. It's all three. Great. You are a genius. Fantastic. I also want to just scrolling back up in the chat. I want to acknowledge a couple of good comments. Somya said, as an ALfA, I think the class I take or the class we will take with teachers, the concept we share with teachers and motivate them to come up with and deliver a variety of ways that come up in the program. Absolutely. Somya said, it helps the students to build and enhance their aptitude and attitude towards the classroom. Great. Okay, so we're looking at what roles you're keen on. Annie said offline and online training. Veena, all three. Jaya, online. So we need a whole variety of people, right? Nobody has all the skills, all the aptitudes, but together we make an incredible team. I know that, Sunita, I at least am not as keen on online trainings, but I'm gradually being won over to them, thanks to you.
No, actually, it was purely experimental. When we did our first training on 9th and 10th of March, first MOOT training, we were hoping this will be engaging enough that people will want to come back to it. And that's exactly what we got as feedback, that there were takeaways. And that's what we want at the end, that there are takeaways. So I hope with the trainers training also, you will help us understand what could go better and how we can make it better and more meaningful for you.
Yes. So I see lots of people are saying online training, lots of people also saying in person. So that's fantastic. Look, whatever you can offer, we are very grateful to accept, whether it's online, in person, or help with networking and coordinating. All hands on deck, and all the different types of work are gratefully appreciated. Great. So before we move forwards, I want to share with you then one of the videos which we use, which helps promote our work, promote ALfA. There's a lot of different eminent leaders who've endorsed the ALfA process, the pedagogy, the work we're doing in schools. So this is one video that can help you, especially with the networking and coordinating, but also which you can show in the trainings. So it's about a 4-minute video. Let's have a watch, and then we want to hear your thoughts in the comments about which leaders' words you found most touching. So we're pulling the video up and looking forward to hearing your reactions to it.
I have been aware of the work of Dr. Sunita Gandhi through Global Dream Shala and the very innovative 30-hour literacy and numeracy toolkit, which is a highly scalable model of literacy that works to improve the literacy of children in school, children out of school, and adults who are illiterate.
इस दिशा में मैं सुनीता गांधी जी के प्रयास की सराहना करता हूं। उनके द्वारा निर्मित ग्लोबल ड्रीम शाला में निरक्षर व्यक्ति मात्र 30 घंटे में साक्षर होकर अपने हृदय में ज्ञान की ज्योति जला सकता है। मैं बहुत सारे बच्चों की तरफ से आपकी शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में किए गए प्रयासों की पूरी प्रशंसा करता हूँ।
You've given me a subject and you made me think. And of course, post-COVID is a very new challenge for all of us. Let me share with you, and I know you've got a remarkable audience of principals and educationists who are very well experienced. I'm no match for them, but I'll try and do justice to the opportunity you've given me and use it as a privilege to share my views.
आपने ग्लोबल ड्रीम लिटरेसी किट को भी बनाया है, जिसके द्वारा निरक्षर बच्चों को मात्र 3 माह की कक्षा के लिए तीन कक्षा तक का स्तर का परीक्षा दे सकने के योग्य बनाने के लिए आपने ये योजना बनाई है। इस प्रकार की एक प्रयोग आपने सरोजनी नगर में किया है और मुझे वहां भी जाने का अवसर प्राप्त हुआ। मुझे लगता है कि उसके द्वारा आपका ये जो प्रयोग है ये सफल प्रयोग रहा। इसी सफल प्रयोग के नाते से आपने आगे और प्रयास किया। जब हम कोई भी प्रयास करते हैं और उसमें सफलता प्राप्त होती है तो निश्चित रूप से हमें उसे आगे बढ़ाने में सहयोगी बनती है वो, और हमें आगे बढ़ने की प्रेरणा देती है। ऐसी प्रेरणा से आज आपने ग्लोबल ड्रीम किट के द्वारा इन बच्चों को परीक्षा देने योग्य बनाने का जो आपने निर्णय लिया है, मुझे लगता है कि ये बच्चों के लिए बहुत सहयोगी होगा।
Coming to City International School was a fantastic experience, especially looking at the work which the Devi program is happening, the FLN, and the students, the way they were reading. It was really an eye-opening experience. Thank you so much for having me here.
While I was coming down from the corridor, I went to the various classrooms, and there I talked to the children and made them read. And they were reading as fluently as they were reading out here in front of you. Almost all of them. So that is remarkable.
तो ये जो एक चुनौती है, आप IAS बना दिए, डॉक्टर्स बना दिए, क्या निरक्षर को साक्षर नहीं बना सकते हैं? तो ये जो मेरा सपना है, मैं चाहता हूँ कि सभी का भी ये सपना हो कि लखनऊ में 1 साल के अंतर्गत हम ऐसे कोई व्यक्ति नहीं रहेगा जो निरक्षर हो।
कोलैबोरेटिव एक्टिविटी कर रहे हैं बच्चे, क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग को लेकर के आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। बहुत बेहतरीन प्रयास है। मुझे लगता है कि नई शिक्षा नीति में ये कहा भी गया है कि शिक्षा का मूल उद्देश्य है बच्चों में कलाओं का विकास, क्षमताओं का विकास, कॉम्पिटेंसीज का विकास, स्किल्स का विकास, और बहुत बेहतर तरीके से स्कूल आगे लेके चल रहे हैं। तो मैं सुनीता गांधी जी, उनके पूरे परिवार को, पूरे विद्यालय परिवार को बधाई देता हूँ इस कार्य के लिए, और ये शुभकामना भी देता हूँ कि इसको आगे जारी रखें और हर बच्चे को उसकी पूर्ण क्षमता के साथ बढ़ने में सहयोग करें। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
Wow, really nice. So we'd love to hear your response in the chat. Which of those leaders, which of their words maybe struck you most or was most touching for you, most powerful for you? We're interested to hear your thoughts. We've got a lot of nice videos like this, which we'll be sharing with you, which you can use in your own events, in promotion, in your trainings as well. So we want to hear which of these leaders' words struck a chord with you.
This
Sunita?
is not a GK activity. If you know the names of these leaders, actually mostly these were Indian. We do have chain makers from across the world who have also given their testimonies to the process. We also have a testimony from, rather an explanation of ALfA from a leading literacy expert, Mary McCool Berry, and she's based out of Ohio in the United States. So, and she's also a dyslexia expert. So I think a lot of people are now looking at it and they are able to give the endorsements. But the biggest endorsement, obviously, as we can agree, is the children themselves. If they are learning and they're learning fast and they're feeling their confidence, and you see that wonder in their eyes, I think that is the biggest testimony. And I hope you'll all get that. So to the extent you can showcase the children who will learn from your teachers, whom you will train, those children, their successes, and will begin to share that, I think that will be really the most powerful testimony for any policymaker, for any network partner.
Absolutely agree. The children are the leaders of change, and they're the ones who we're working for. I'm seeing lots of people, quite a variety of that you are appreciating. You're appreciating Mr. Patnaik, Kiran Bedi, Rajnath Singh. Bueller said, leaving no one behind, struck a chord with you. Absolutely. So yeah, there's some really powerful testimonies out there. I would want to add also to what Sunita said, that I think you are going to be the most powerful testimony, because essentially relationships, friendships, that's how people change, right? We're not likely to change just by what we listen to, just by what we read. We're more likely to change when a friend talks with us, when a friend encourages us. That's going to make a more powerful difference. So that's partially why we're running the training today, is we want you to be able to reach out to your network and to help convert them, because they're not going to listen to us, but they will listen to you. So I think you will also be a very powerful testament to the power of ALfA. So I see, oh yes, this was a really nice comment that I wanted to point out by Abhinash. Abhinash said, I want to be an ALfA trainer because the role is one that I'm extremely passionate about. It's a role I get to make a positive difference on a daily basis. That's what we're all in it for, making a positive difference daily, absolutely. So I think this is great, good discussion. I think it's time to break it up a bit with an activity. We want to do lots of different literacy and numeracy activities with you today, so that you can build your toolkit of activities that you will do in a training. So let's start as I pull my slide up. This is a fun one, which I know we've done some activities together before, but we've also chosen, we've dug around in the books and we've chosen some new activities today, which I don't think we've done yet together. So this one, we'd like you to solve in the chat. You can see there's a set of letters there on screen, A, P, V, S, O, C, T, L, E, R. And you can see, I hope the font is big enough if you're watching on your phone. You can see the first word there, P, E, blank, C, E. And there's clues given. So you can read the clues and figure out what letter gets filled into those blanks. So you can see that the third letter, the third blank, has first letter from left. So you can see what that letter is. You can fill it in. You can also see that the final blank says second letter from right. So you can fill that in as well. So can you post in the chat what word this makes? So a little bit of, a literacy riddle for you. And just waiting for your responses in the chat here. So we can just solve them one at a time. So the first one, there's only 2 blanks for us to fill in. Okay, so nice one, Harpreet, Veena, Aisha, peace. Exactly. Okay, let's try the second one, which has a few more blanks. Let's see if we can get that. See, the first blank is third from right. Sunita, I want you to do this as well. Okay, so we're looking at third letter from right. Okay, then we've got 5th letter from left. Then after that, 8th letter from right. Oh my goodness, have to count too much now.
8th letter, wait, second is what? 5th letter from?
Left.
Left.
And then 2nd letter from right. So can you guys solve the second riddle? You want to hear your answer in the chat? I think I've got it. Okay. A couple of people have said vote, but I don't think so. We've had an election recently in Lucknow. Maybe we're thinking about that still. But it's not vote. Yeah, that's right. Usha and Jaya, it's love. Right, okay. And the third one, that looks like a hard one. Let's see if we can solve that.
So you'll have to read it out, because some people are watching
I'll
on the
read
mobile.
it out. So the first letter from right. Okay. Then the second letter from right. Then 4th letter from left. Then 9th letter from right. These are tricky clues. 9th letter from right. And then we've got 9th letter from left. Then we have the 5th letter from the right. And then we've got the 7th from the left. 3, 6, 7. Okay, I've got it. And it looks like lots of you have beaten me to it in the chat. Respect. Wow, peace, love, and respect. That was nice. Wow, beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed that one. And I guess I want to ask you then, why do you think, what's the advantage or what things are children learning from this sort of activity? We do a lot of these activities in our trainings, the same activities which teachers can do with their kids in the classroom. So what do you think from this activity, what are some of the learnings that children are taking away from this? I want to put that question in the comments as well. So what do you think are some of the things that kids are learning from this activity? Interested to hear your thoughts. And Sunita, maybe I'll turn to you while we're waiting for responses.
Right. So for me, it is a number of things that are going on. Firstly, in ALfA, we are not supposed to teach. And as Martin said, it's learning, not teaching. So learning, how does learning take place? This is about ordinal and cardinal numbers. So I need to know 5th from right or 5th from left and what letter is that, and sort of it's an interpretation of learning. And what better way than to first decode by yourself, and that's kind of a joyful activity, than a teacher telling you on the board, look children, this is the 5th, this is the 4th, let them do trial and error, let them figure it out. And they do, voila, very well. And then after that, they make their own activities. I mean, that is the idea. You wind up the toy once more. You wind up the clock once more. And they go. So you've unleashed a process, and then they're able to continue with that process and make umpteen questions for each other. For example, Tom and I will take our first name or even the last names together, and we'll have a whole bunch of unique letters from it, not the duplication of letters. And we'll put those unique letters in a box at the top, like you saw, a box with letters. And then we'll come up with some words on our own. We won't tell what word that is. And we'll create a blank kind of activity for Tom, and Tom will create for me. I have to figure out what he guessed for the word, and he has to figure out what I guessed for the word. And so umpteen activities can be done, and a huge amount of learning that ensues after you've given that seed thought. And the seed thought is not communicated by the teacher, it's self-explanatory through the demo, through the picture, and through a lot of other things we do in order for the children to understand by themselves. So everything scaffolds from known to unknown from the time they begin without letters to put words together. And on those, the next is built, and the next is built, and the next is built. Similarly in mathematics. So it goes from known to unknown.
Yeah. And I see lots of you are responding in the comments, and I agree with you. So Jaya said it's ordinal numbers. That's right. So they're learning 2nd, 5th, 3rd, so forth. They're also learning directions, left and right. Veena said it was thrilling. They learn a new word without teaching. So vocabulary building is something that many of you pointed out. Aisha said critical thinking, enjoying. Rupa said creativity. So that's right. So just solving this problem doesn't require much creativity, but then we take it to the next step, and kids make a problem like this. They make a riddle and give it to their partner. So that requires a lot of creativity. You're thinking about the word, and then you're also framing the questions for it. Usha said it's vocabulary. Yeah, it's logical reasoning, patience, turn-taking, communication skills. This is Beulah. Self-confidence. That's right. So it's not just the literacy and numeracy skills, it's also going deeper than that. It's the creativity, the critical thinking, the patience. Absolutely.
And logic reasoning, Patricia says.
Yeah. So that's what, as I just, that was what I felt as well. And that's why I chose this activity. Is it's a really good example. Maybe it encapsulates ALfA, because integrating literacy and numeracy. right? It's a word activity, but there's also this mathematical component of counting the letters from the left, from the right, the ordinal numbers. So it's integrating both literacy and numeracy, and also some higher order skills, some of these 8C skills which we talk about. So that's what ALfA is all about. It's about cutting across those boundaries, cutting across those subject lines, integrating things, and doing it in a really fun and creative way.
Hava Makaza said the font is not clear. I'm sorry about that. I think that is what I feared. But even if you didn't get the exact word right, I think you may have understood what we're trying to accomplish. And we'll certainly be sharing all the resources with you.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to go over this once more.
Absolutely. So I think that was a good whetting of the appetite. Let's go on to another activity. If I just pull up my PowerPoint again. So we've got a whole repertoire of literacy activities. And yeah, so there's creativity, there's vocabulary building, there's writing, there's ordinal numbers, lots of things they're learning from that. Let's go on to this one, which some of you may have done before, depending on which of our trainings you've been in, but I think it's worth doing nevertheless. And again, apologies if the font size is a bit small if you're watching on your mobile. But in this activity, we've got 3 columns here. The first column is all nouns. So it reads dog, sister, fish, teacher, monster, alien, and so forth. The second column is all verbs. It reads runs, plays, cooks, rides, writes, splashes, so forth. And the final column is again nouns: ball, game, book, food, dinner, bike, etc. So to make a sentence here, we're going to choose one word from each of the columns. So let's do that. And then you can feel free to add helping words, helping verbs, auxiliary verbs, or prepositions to make it a proper sentence. So Sunita, let's give it a try, you and I as well. And please post your responses in the chat. We want to see what sentences you're making.
So I have come up with dog, rides, UFO.
Oh, that's creative. Dog rides UFO. Nice. We want to hear yours in the chat as well. I'm going to come up with teacher splashes in a pond. What do you think?
It sounds all right. But you added articles, and that's what they will do next, is add articles and other things, like adjectives sometimes as well.
So I'm seeing in the chat, Patricia said, Mum cooks food. Rishita said, Dad drives bike. My dog plays ball. Aisha and Veena are both on the same line here. Dog plays ball. Usha, monster chases car.
Brilliant.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sister cooks food. Great.
Brilliant.
Although I want to strike a more gender neutral note here and say, Dad cooks dinner. My dad definitely cooks dinner. He cooks a nice dinner. Dad rides bike. Great. So again, that's lovely. Again, let's hear your thoughts in the chat. What do you think children are learning through this activity? There's obviously lots of different ways we can teach writing. There's lots of ways we can teach grammar. But what do you think children are gaining from doing an activity like this? Interested to hear your thoughts in the comments again. Sunita, what do you think? We come back to this activity because we like it so much. What do you like about it?
There are so many activities like these. Just what we can share in a Zoom kind of setting
is limited.
in a short training. So basically, here again, you see you're unleashing a process of self-learning. The children are seeing, 3 columns. They're seeing nouns, verbs, nouns, and now we can call it grammar activity. But then, by calling it grammar activity, children, these are names of nouns, people, places, animals, and things. That's one way to do it. The other way is to kind of let it be in the context of using nouns and verbs as action words. Again, you put them to use. And once they have had some practice with doing it on this particular module, there are prompts at the bottom, and every module comes with prompts. Prompts are 3 things. Number 1, they are instructions for the children as to what they're supposed to do with what's above in the visual, and how they're going to work in a pair. And this is the part the teacher needs to demonstrate. So there are 3-part demonstrations, which I think we need to pass on to the teachers. First part is that I would demonstrate it, maybe with another child, maybe with another teacher. So we are a pair. Always try to be a pair, or we can use puppets. For example, we can have two hand puppets. We usually use what's called Tina and Toto. So basically, you've got Tina and Toto, and Tina's saying noun, verb, noun. So, she's making the sentence first. Dad cooks dinner, or as some of you made some other beautiful words like dad writes book. So the other child, or Toto, is saying that. So the teacher is demonstrating how you're going to do the making of the sentences and how you'll take turns. And you'll say, wow, that was very nice. Thank you very much, Tom. That was brilliant. Or, all the courtesies and the mannerisms are also taught in that process. The teacher will say, oh, thank you, Toto. Oh, thank you, Tom. Tina, and so forth. So that's part one, which is where the teacher demonstrates. And the second part is where you bring two children to the front and say, now you demonstrate. So this is very important. So you want to know what you have communicated, have some of the children understood or not. Ideally, all of them have understood. Bring a couple of them out and let them do it again. So that's like another revision on how to do, and you get to know whether they need fine-tuning in some form or another. And then the whole class does it. So they all face each other. In ALfA, the children are not facing the teacher. They're facing each other. So that's the beauty of it. We are facing you right now, but most of the time, we'll be working in a pair like this. And teacher will be not passing through the class, will be just observing from a distance. We did this yesterday when I was training. I walked up to one of the teachers to see what she's doing, and suddenly she stopped working. She stopped working, and she kept thinking, oh, have I done any mistake, is what she told me. And I think this is what the teachers passing through the corridor do, or through the class they do. So we need to have the teacher sit back and relax and let the children even make their mistakes. Because if today they don't know, we change pairs every single day. That's another thing that you will need to communicate to the teachers, that the pairs have to be changed every single day. How to change the pairs, how to make the pairs, you've learned in other moods, but we also have a video that will help us support you in that endeavor. So in your training also of the teachers, the first thing that they will do is learn how to sit in pairs themselves. So we'll probably do a chit activity where they'll have a chit with their name, let's say, for a minute. All the teachers write their names and you put them in a box. And then you pick any random two, or let one of the teachers come to the front and pick two. Or one thing I saw, a variation, very nice variation I saw the other day, where the child, or in this case the teacher, will walk up to the box and pick up a name. And that name becomes their pair. So every child gets to come to the front, pick up one name, and that becomes their pair. So like that. But we do that every single day. So what happens is that the children don't know today, they sit with another pair and they'll figure it out. Or at night they're thinking that diffuse learning time is very powerful, and next day they come, they already know. So there are many ways to cut the pie.
Yeah.
But in essence, that's the first part of the prompts. What is in the visual, what the children are supposed to do. Second part is follow-on activities. For example, here, a follow-on activity would be that children will make their own lists of nouns, verbs, and nouns. So Tom will make his list of nouns, verbs, and nouns, and I'll make for him a whole bunch. I'll give him mine, and he'll give me his, and we'll make sentences for each other. So that's the second part of the prompts. Third part of the prompts is a written activity that they may do in their notebook, and there we give some sample questions, some startup ideas, and they go do that. There are also extension activities, like we might say, okay, add adjectives, and we give some examples of the adjectives.
Yeah. And I think a lot of you have caught on to this point, that this is a much more interesting way of teaching grammar. Several of you have mentioned we don't need to teach now the traditional, the simple subject, verb, object, because that's what they're learning from this activity. So that's exactly the core of ALfA, is there's much less teaching, there's a lot more learning, right? In a nutshell, the kids are learning these things themselves. They're picking up the structure of a sentence as they're playing around with this. They're saying, oh, I can exchange this word for this word because they're both nouns, essentially, even though they may not know initially that they're called nouns, but they get a feel for what you can do to make a sentence. There's also a very fun way you can do this in a multilingual activity, where you can write these words on chits of paper, and then you can flip them over and write them in a different language. So I do this with English and Hindi, and then you see that the sentence structure in Hindi is different from the sentence structure in English. That's also a fun one. So I'm just looking at the chat. You're saying you don't need to teach them the primitive way of sentence structure, such as subject, verb, object. Veena said that, absolutely. And yeah, so it's a much easier way of learning grammar. Inga said, does the pair change make stress between children as girlfriends and boyfriends sit together at random? I guess we're mainly talking about primary, right?
Yes, hopefully they're not so attached yet.
I know though, when I tried this in a government school recently, I had one boy who was randomly paired with a girl, and he said, I don't sit with girls. So that was a new experience for him to sit with a girl, and I think a valuable experience. Yeah. So yeah, if we go back, maybe we've got the time to do one more literacy activity together. I think yeah, let's do this one. This will be fun. Yeah, if I just pull up my slide again. So again, some of you may have done this, but I think most of you haven't. So we've got here seven words in this sentence, but they've been scrambled around. So can you post in the chat what the sentence should be if you unscramble the sentence? Yeah, unscramble the words, post in the chat what the sentence becomes. And you can also, I'm going to take this a step further, first post that answer, then I want you to post a similar riddle for Sunita and I to solve. Okay? So Sunita, maybe you can come up with another riddle as well and put it in the chat. But yeah, so first solve this riddle that I came up with, and then post another riddle in the chat for us to solve. And you'll see that time and again, when you're familiar with the ALfA books, that's the same basic structure. Is there's a demonstration, there's an activity, right, an exercise, and then the prompt is for the kids to make more similar questions for each other. So instead of us giving the kids like 15 or 50 such exercises, we're just giving them one exercise, and then we're asking them to use their creativity to make more such exercises for each other. And that, I'm sure you'll recognize, is a lot more enjoyable, a lot more interesting for the kids, and they often make quite challenging exercises for each other.
Right.
And they take more interest in solving each other's riddles than they would take in just solving riddles given in the textbook. So I see lots of people have said, I want to become an ALfA trainer. Now you know how sneaky I am, what I get you to write. So, very sneaky of me. So let's see. I think
So
some of you...
I've got a sentence I'm just posting under education we want.
Okay.
And see if you can figure that out.
Okay.
I grateful so feel today.
I feel so grateful today.
Oh, no, Tom,
Sunita,
you gave away the
too
plot.
easy, too easy. You're not a child. Children go for much more challenging things.
Well, I think like a child.
Okay, so I think Ananda said, connect you, me with WA in. I think
right.
Connect with me, you connect with me in WhatsApp. Do you reckon that's it?
Yes,
You connect with me in WhatsApp?
Yes, yes, yes.
I think that might be it. Great. So somebody else can post there. Oh, Rushita, what do you reckon? Can we crack that one? Our journey to embark this we ready.
We are ready to embark.
This journey.
This journey, yeah. On this journey, yeah.
It's pretty remarkable, the human brain, hey? We can just
Yes,
do it
the human brain
instantly.
can actually work this out very quickly. Yes, indeed. It looks for meaning, basically, because human brain is designed to look for meaning.
Yeah. Mother going church to my is? My mother is going to church.
Very good.
Wow, nice job.
I think Mupamelelo was there last time.
Yes,
I really
you look
remember.
familiar. Yes.
I hope you can give us pronunciation for your name so we don't get it wrong.
So Inga said, trainer feel ALfA children. I'm not sure. That's a confusing one. ALfA children, no, ALfA trainer feel like children.
Who wants to become an ALfA trainer? Tom.
Give me and you a subject, think me. That looks hard.
Oh, this is a hard one. Veena got us.
Veena's got us thinking. Give me a subject. I think Veena's got us stumped. Well done, Veena.
Give me and make you a subject, think me. Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is hard.
Okay, wait.
And beautiful is day sunny today. Today is beautiful and today is a beautiful and sunny day.
Give me a subject and you make me think.
Nice.
I think I got it right. Please tell me, Veena, that was okay.
Yes,
Otherwise, give us the right sentence for that.
Yes, very good. And of course, some of these it may be possible to have multiple sentences which are correct. So great. I hope you enjoyed that one. I think that gives you just a little snapshot of some of the activities we do in ALfA. There's a lot more in the book, which may be easier to do in person. But I'm sure when you're exploring the books, you'll find your own favorite activities which you'll want to do in your trainings. I know I've got my 2 or 3 favorites, but it's just there to give you a snapshot. Now, let me ask you this. It's obvious, okay, we do activities in the classroom, right? And we often think of activities as something that kids do, not adults. So why do you think we do activities in the trainings, right? We're training a bunch of adults, generally a bunch of teachers. So why do we do activities in the trainings? Interested to hear your thoughts on this. I know, Sunita, we are always running short on time, aren't we? And it's often tempting to just go, okay, we've got so much content to cover, so much curriculum to cover, you might say. So it's always tempting to push the activities aside, but why do you think activities are so important in trainings and for adults, right? Not just for kids, but for adults. So we're looking forward to your thoughts here. Sunita, do you want to start us off?
See, I think we are wired to use our hands and the mind together. You know, when we do that, our learning is more real. If you look at how human beings learn, they don't learn through verbalization, that's for sure. A dog doesn't learn through his eyes, he learns through his sense of smell, right? Human beings learn more through, I think we can all agree, through visualization. And when you connect it to visual and experiential learning, in the sense they're touching, feeling, doing, it's more than just visual. And those experiences children will retain and remember. And when they're using their mind and their hand together, it is the most powerful way to experience learning. So you're figuring it out for yourself. You're discovering for yourself. And this is something that does not take place in our regular schooling. Most of the time, guess what do?
It's just a monologue most of the time.
We verbalize. You know, we talk. We want them to listen. And that's not how it's the most effective. But when children think for themselves, when they do things for themselves, they're actively engaged in that learning and discovering, and we're not telling them. What fun is there if you tell the children, look, this is what it is and this is how it works, and now just go and do some questions on it? That's really not fun for the children. It's much more fun when they discover it for themselves and light bulbs go on. Yep, that's how it works. And you don't have to teach at all. I think that's the beauty of it all. And I think we need to get away from the traditional in so many ways when we're talking about ALfA. So many different ways. Kids can learn on their own. This is another realization that we must have, that children can learn on their own. We don't need to teach them. God-given faculty of the mind, you know, it's the intellect is huge in children. If monkeys can learn, you know, in Pavlov's experiment, and if the chimpanzee, it was monkeys and chimpanzees, and if pigeons can carry letters, and B.F. Skinner's experiment with pigeons, you can understand that we human beings or children are innately so much more capable. I think we can also agree that we've been dummifying the children through the old system. We're asking them to just sit there. There's so many dead spaces and they're sitting there and listening to the teacher. You switch off. You can't listen whole day long. You can't even listen for 3.5 hours. Thankfully, we're doing some activities. Otherwise, you'll be switching off very quickly.
Absolutely.
Right?
So I think that strikes a really good chord. And I see many of you are responding similarly in the chat. Somebody said, I'm struggling to find it now, but somebody said adults have less focus and are less focused than children. I think you're right that actually we think of, okay, adults, you know, they're very disciplined, they can stay focused for a long time. But I know in this age of social media, it's very easy to be distracted, right? It's very easy to lose focus. So unless our trainings are really interesting and are really active, we're going to lose our participants. So it's absolutely vital, whatever your content is in training, for it to be highly participatory. And especially in ALfA, it's particularly important because ALfA is all about active learning, right? It's all about children working in pairs. Now, if we as ALfA trainers are not modeling that ourselves in our training, then it's very hypocritical and it's very counterproductive, right? If we give you a lecture about activity-based learning, that's going to be worse than useless, right? So I see, just looking at your chat, Mello said, we do activities so that it's easier to grasp the concept, keeps us engaged all the way, reduces boredom. Patricia said it appeals to different senses and different types of learners. Kerudin, that's what I was referring to. Adults get bored faster than kids. That's why we need to engage them better. It's a collaboration of mind and hand. That was Veena. Thanks, Veena. That's a nice way to put it. Yeah, it involves critical thinking. So whatever messages we're trying to get across, we need to help them come across in a variety of ways, not just by verbally expressing them, but by showing them through videos and especially by doing activities together.
Khairuddin Sudharman says there's a marked difference between training, education, and learning. Very profound. Yes, indeed.
As I just pull up my slide again, I want to share one framework which I think is helpful for this, which I'm sure many of you will be familiar with, the learning pyramid, right? So lectures, a very passive form of learning, and we often retain only a very small amount of that, like 5%. Reading, okay, we're using our eyes, but still, it's often a bit boring. Lots of people are not good readers. They don't retain information well that way. Audio-visual, that's videos, a bit better, demonstration, a bit better again. But then where we really get the high retention is by practicing, by doing, and by teaching others. So that's why whenever we're doing activities with people, right, they're actually doing something, so they're going to learn it much more deeply. In a little while, we're going to be doing numeracy activities together. And unless you yourself are able to, add or divide numbers using the hands-on materials, how are you going to be able to train a teacher to do so, right? Or unless the teacher is able to do that, how are they going to be able to help their students? So we need to be able to do the things which we are helping others with. And we need to be able to model it, right? Not just the content, but also the style of delivery needs to be in tune, in line with what we're talking about. Great. I see Chanchal is asking, I come across a teacher where he said a girl student rejects to sit in pair with a student, exclaiming she is toxic. Whew, nasty. So I think you're right, Chanchal, that sometimes we have difficulties with helping people sit in pairs. But hopefully through working through these issues, that's how we're developing those 8C skills. That's how we're developing citizenship, character, is, everybody wants to sit next to their friend. I'm sitting next to my friend today, but we want to be able to have people, have children and teachers also sit with new people, make new friends, right? Not just sit with the person who they've always sat with. Wouldn't you say, Sunita? That's a crucial part of the process.
Yes, I think so. I think at the margin, it is so much more important that we create good human beings and world citizens and people who care about each other's social, emotional, mental well-being. We focus on that than about learning itself. Learning is secondary at the margin. If children cannot learn the skill to work with each other, that's a real shame. So I think we need to step back, think 10 different ways in which we can help these children develop a greater, bigger bond and overcome their difficulties in working with each other. So we can't give up. We can't give up at the first instance. Like, for example, in Tom's class, the boy said, I never will sit with a girl. So it happens. A lot of kids they're wanting to sit. We've taught them the wrong way. You see, these problems come up later on. That's another thing to remember, that early on, when the children are learning to work with each other from day one when they go to school, it's a vastly different outcome in 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, than when they're in grade 8 or grade 7, they're trying to work things out. It's much, much tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a good place to segue a bit. We've done some fun activities together. Soon we'll be doing some numeracy activities together. But I think it's a good place to segue into discussing the skills of an alpha trainer, right? What are the key skills that you'll be utilizing? So we've been talking about activities, and a key reason for that is we want it to be an interactive training, right? We're also talking about how to use questions and audience polls in an online setting or also an offline setting. So this is a framework that my dad came up with, and I really enjoy this framework. He talks about the 7 Ps of training. So I think these sorts of mnemonics make it easier to remember. So this is what we need when we're trying to become a good trainer. Now, some of us will be stronger on some dimensions, others on other dimensions, but we're trying to all develop these sorts of skills. So be passionate, right? We need to be passionate about whatever we are training about. In this case, ALfA, we need to be passionate about it. We need to believe in it. We need to prepare. So I know this is my weak point, hey, Sunita. I'm always preparing at the last minute. But we need to prepare well ahead of time, know our content and our context. We need to be punctual. We need to stick to time. I think this is your weak point here. And we need to maximize audience participation. So this is what we'll be talking about very soon is, yeah, how can we maximize participation? Having people sit in pairs, especially important for ALfA. We need to probe with interesting questions, which is what we've been doing a lot of today. And we need to play games and do activities. So these 7 Ps, we're not expecting you to memorize this, of course, but these are some of the things we need, the skills we need as an ALfA trainer. So let me ask you then, why do you think it's so important for training to be highly participatory? If we are trying to get some messages across, we might think, okay, I can just talk about the message and that will get the message across. But why do you think it's important for trainings to be highly participatory? Sunita, I'll turn to you and we'll also put this message in the chat. But yeah, what do you think? Why is it important for trainings to be participatory? And especially maybe it's challenging in an online context, but why do you think it's so important?
Well, in the same way as, certain ways of teaching and learning are more profound, better, more impactful, more retention comes from them. I think that participation leads to our understanding as master trainers or trainers, whether the trainees have understood what we have taught them. So it's a feedback mechanism, but it's also a fun and joyful activity for the participants or the trainees to have that participation. It also says that we value you. We care for what you're thinking and feeling. So giving that space to them to participate. And participation need not be a one way or a two way. There's one way from me to you and you to me. But participation is in a paired learning sense. So we are kind of unleashing a process by which the trainees themselves are highly engaged and are totally involved in the learning. And so what we did yesterday, a good part of yesterday, the trainees themselves did the lessons. And I think that's really participatory.
Absolutely.
Get the trainees to do the lessons because they can, because once they've understood what you want, you don't need to be the ones who is doing it. And also because prompts are given there. So they can actually follow the prompts, read the prompts, what they will do in their classes anyway. It empowers them in a much, much better way when it's participatory than if you just give a lecture. I stand there, I'm the expert. I tell them, look, this is how you're going to do it. And the old way, kind of because I'm the so-and-so of the school, I think it has so much less impact.
Yeah. I see many of you are responding along similar lines. Pooja was saying to gain their attention, make sessions more interactive. Esther said it makes it lively, enjoyable, and retainable. Absolutely. Participation keeps everyone alert. Yes, I know my dad, when he gives trainings, he has the slightly annoying habit of, he picks out somebody who looks like they're not listening and asks them a question. It really puts them on the spot. But yeah, we want people to be alert. You become absorbed, Patricia says, you become absorbed and you understand more. There's less distraction. Yes, Usha said it's an enjoyment, feeling of accomplishment, higher retention, boosting self-confidence. Rushita makes a good point here. To know if we're on the same line, any doubts, engaged in fun learning. So if the training is not participatory, if we're not asking questions, we don't know whether it's coming across or not, right? We're just in the dark. So it's very important for participation so that we understand what our participants are understanding. Absolutely. If I just pull up my slide again.
Actually, one of the reasons why we are kind of dwelling on it is because we've seen too much of training that is just listen.
Yes. Yes.
And we want ALfA training to be a joyful learning experience for everyone, including yourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can sit back and relax while others take over.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Oh, I want to ask you this as an audience poll question too, actually. What proportion of time do you think a trainer should be speaking in training? Now, I know you're going to call us hypocrites on this because here we are talking a bit much today. Unfortunately, in an online training, that's often the case. But yes, suppose it's an in-person training.
In-person training.
What proportion of time do you think a trainer should be speaking? Roughly. Obviously, there's no precise answer. But yeah, roughly what proportion of time do you think a trainer should spend speaking during a training? You could also generalize this to in a classroom. What proportion of time do you think a teacher should be speaking in the class?
Good question. Yes.
Similar question.
Yes.
So 21 people have voted. Great. If you haven't voted yet, please do. I want to hear your vote. What proportion of time do you think people should be speaking, trainers should be speaking? Okay, I think we've got 24 votes. That's a representative sample, so we can close it there. And want to see the results of the poll? What proportion of time do you think a trainer should be speaking? Lots of people responding in the chat as well. Wow, 43% said 20% of the time, majority. Some said 40%, some said 60%, nobody said 80%. Yeah, right.
Thankfully.
So I agree. We totally agree. The majority of the time should be spent doing activities or listening, right? Listening to the participants. The minority, maybe 20 or 40% should be spent talking. I see lots of people responding in the chat, agreeing with that.
Yeah. I think maybe 20% or less than 20%
Yeah.
in-person training would be ideal.
Yeah, that's right.
Get it out from them.
Yeah.
Rather than tell them.
Yeah.
And if you have everything in PPT, they can themselves understand and
Yes.
try to make sense of it.
Yeah.
And you can always come in after that.
Yeah.
So instead of being the first in every instance, it can also be the other way around. They be the first, you come in if there's a need to say, elaborate a little more.
Yeah. I think that's what we're trying to do today as well. I hope it's working for you, is that we are generally asking a question first, we're hearing your responses, and then only after that adding something to it. So a much more interesting way, as opposed to telling you first and only asking a question afterwards, right? Because you guys have lots of great thoughts, you have lots of great comments, so we want to hear those things before we say anything ourselves. And that's the same way we run trainings in general. And that's how an ALfA classroom works also, right? The teacher should not be telling the students much. They should be just asking questions. So in terms of how we can make a training interactive, if I just pull up my slide once again, a couple of tips on this, which I think you guys are already well across. So yeah, we're asking questions to hear participants' thoughts. We're doing hands-on activities together, which are provided there in the ALfA booklets. We're pairing up participants in physical trainings. We're using, in online trainings, we're using chat and comments extensively, as we are today. And we're also using opinion polls and quizzes. So there's a whole variety of tools to make a training interactive.
Right. So in a physical setting, you also want some kind of feedback, show of hands, 2 choices, 3 choices. You can say out A is this, excellent, B is whatever, and so forth. And then say how many say A, B, or C, just write on a sheet of paper, and then you can ask all of them to, swap maybe, and then say how many said A, how many said B.
Yeah, that's right. So I think online and offline, they're quite different modalities, but in both of them, it's kind of similar principles. We definitely need interaction in both, even if the means of interaction is a little bit different. So on that vein, let me ask you another question, right? Again, we want to hear your responses in the chat. What do you think are some of the most common mistakes that we need to avoid in training? I know probably all of us have been to some trainings which we find painful, difficult to sit through. So as we become trainers, and we're always learning, right? None of us is perfect. We're always trying to improve our skills. What do you think are some of the most common mistakes we need to avoid as we are delivering a training, as we're facilitating a training? So interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. What are some of the most common mistakes that we need to try to avoid? Before we get to that, Veena has made a good point, adding gamification. Really like that, Veena. So yeah, some of the activities we do are kind of games. Some of the quizzes we do are games. So I think we need games in the classroom. And also, sometimes we think, okay, games are for kids, no? But I think adults also really enjoy games. So totally agree with you there. So we're interested to hear your thoughts on one of the most important mistakes to avoid. I'm going to read out a few before handing it to Sunita. Ananda said, interrupting a participant. Okay, yeah. So especially in in-person trainings, we need to be careful to avoid interrupting people. Aisha said, too complicated concept. Right, so that's our job as a trainer, is to make things simple and easy. Usha said, spoon feeding, talking too much, not giving thinking time. Ananda, packing too much into one session. This is a really good list of common problems.
Too much talking
Too
and
long
not
hours.
being punctual as a trainer. Not being punctual.
Asking questions without waiting for answer, Rishita Shetty. I know I'm guilty of that sometimes, so sorry. But yeah, absolutely. Talking more and listening
Long
less.
hours of training.
Yes, Aisha. I feel your pain.
Rote learning should be avoided.
Yeah. Not ready, Rushita, not ready for all types of comments. Absolutely. So as a trainer, we need to be very flexible and we need to be ready to deal with hard comments and hard feedback. I know
No activity.
Yeah.
There should be time management, Patricia
Yeah.
says.
Yeah.
There should be talking. If we don't, well, I suppose the negative is talking more and listening less. There's
Yes.
Veena.
Yes. Yeah. Taking learners as passive recipients.
Oh, yes, not
Yeah.
ready for all types of comments. Rishita.
Yeah.
And then Viola says traditional learning style.
Yeah.
Hava says taking learners as passive recipients. Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
That happens very
Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
Yes, or not being sure of the content.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
True.
they need to be sure what's going on. So I think I don't need to add more.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys
yeah.
have said it all.
Yeah.
It's so self-explanatory. Yeah. Next, Tom, you may.
Yeah. Sure. Having no ice breaking, Veena said. Yeah.
Yes.
If I just pull up my slide again, I think, I think you guys have covered it all pretty well. I guess I was also added one more, which is avoid using too many statistics. I know that I'm guilty of this one sometimes, right?
Yes.
But generally, stories are much more powerful, right? Stories, they touch the heart. Statistics touch the brain, and it's often hard for people to understand statistics. So yeah, stories over statistics. And also, I hope I'm not too guilty of this one, but having too much text, right? So in PowerPoints, very often people have a lot of text and not many pictures, but a picture says is worth 1,000 words. So yeah, avoid too much text, too many statistics, and that will go a long way with your training skills. Beautiful. Yeah, Patricia said not varying activities. Veena, no icebreakers. Absolutely. Great.
Fantastic.
So I think you guys are well across what the skills we need as a trainer. And I think we are ready to take a quick exercise break, right? Because we've been sitting for almost 2 hours. And I know you all enjoy dancing together. So that's what we're going to do next. And then when we come back from the dance, we're going to be exploring some numeracy activities together, which I'm sure you'll also enjoy. And then we'll be showing you what's in your trainer's kit, right? You'll be getting a package of videos and PowerPoints and various things which will be very useful for you. So we'll be sharing that with you. So let's get up, stretch ourselves, and it's time for a bit of exercise. Well, that was fun. I hope you guys joined us. I know we're not much to look at as dancers, but I hope you joined us. And I know that So I hope in person or online incorporate some active, some really active exercise, because it's very important to keep the blood pumping, right? Yeah. So with that, I think it's time to move towards numeracy activities. So we enjoyed doing some of those literacy activities earlier. So it's time to do some numeracy activities. And I think we'll start with doing some addition. So if you haven't got your counters yet, please grab some counters. So you'll need 2 different types of objects. Sunita and I have matchsticks to be used as 1s, and we have ice cream sticks to be used as 10s. So go into your kitchen, grab two different types of items. You'll need about 15 or 20 of each. So it could be absolutely anything. It could be sticks, beans, buttons, spoons, pencils, pens, absolutely anything. You'll need 15 or 20 of 2 different items. So go into your kitchen, into your living room, grab some items which we'll be using as our prompts, for our activities. So grab the items and please post in the chat. We want to hear. I know lots of people bring very creative things. So go and grab it and post it in the chat what you're using. Meanwhile, I'm just looking at the comments. I see, okay, somebody liked the moves of the dance. Thanks, Ropa. I know the minions did a much better job than we did, but yeah, okay, great. So yeah, I think you'll be able to find the link to that very easily. If you want to use that or something else in your trainings, I think, yeah, it's a good idea. So, okay, as we're finding our objects, Rushita has got matchsticks and Rajma. Great. Aisha is using pegs. So we need 2 objects because we're going to be using one for 1s and the other for 10. Are going to be 1. Beatrice said we must avoid boring activities. I hope we're doing that. I hope this doesn't qualify as boring. I'm sure you will enjoy this. So please do grab your items. Veena has got lots of different items. Cup, spoon, sugar, water, chocolate. Okay, Veena, you only need 2 different items and you need 10 or 15 of each of them for this activity. So Aisha's got buttons and pegs. That's great.
Chanchal has got 60 of something.
Chanchal, wow, you've got a lot.
Then Patricia's got buttons and buttons and peg, Aisha. Toothpicks and units
Okay.
by Shineth.
Okay, fantastic. Great. Okay, so as we're grabbing our items, okay, I'm going to put one of my maths problems up on screen, and we're going to solve this together. So if I just pull my PowerPoint up once again. So great, we're going to flick through that. I'm going to come back to all that later. But one of the, yeah, I'm just flicking through my PowerPoint, please. Yeah, great. Okay, so actually we're not going to do addition today. We're going to go straight for subtraction, right? Because I think you guys addition is too easy for you all. So let's start with subtraction. And I'm just going to rewind. So the question is 43 minus 16. So again, please pull these items out, do this activity together. You'll enjoy it, and it'll also help build deeper understanding. So the question is 43 minus 16. So Sunita, can you get out 43 using your concrete objects? And everybody please do likewise, getting out your 43. So Sunita is pulling out 43. Great. So you can see she's got, Sunita, how many ice cream sticks do you have?
4.
Okay. And how many matchsticks?
3.
Beautiful. So I hope all of you are also pulling out your items. 4 10s and 3 1s. Great. Now we're going to subtract 16. So let me ask for you to respond in the chat to this one. Will Sunita start? Will she start by taking away the matchsticks? Will she start with the matchsticks, or will she start with the ice cream sticks? Which will she try to remove first? Waiting for your response in the comments here before we move on. Rushida said she has Asha, she is using matchsticks as 10s and Rajma beans as 1s. So she's got 4 matchsticks and 3 Rajma beans. Great. Okay, lovely. So we're looking for your comment on should Sunita start with the 1s or start with the 10s? What will she try to remove first? Looking forward to your comment here on this before Sunita proceeds. Okay. Okay, Jaya is using Rajma and potatoes. That's great. Rushita, matchsticks needs to be regrouped. Okay, absolutely. So, Sunita, can you take 6 matchsticks away from 3?
No.
No. Okay, so what are you going to do?
So I'm going to trade 110 from the bank, put this back, a stick of 10, ice cream stick of 10, and get 10 matchsticks in return.
Okay, great. Go ahead and do it. And everybody who's watching, you can also please do it with your materials.
Okay, got 10.
Okay, wonderful. So Sunita is getting out her 10 matchsticks instead of the ice cream stick.
Yeah.
And I'll just show this on my PowerPoint as well, please. This, by the way, will hopefully be useful for you also, is we'll be giving you these PowerPoints with this animation of how to do the numeracy. I'll just replay that in slow motion. So there was the ice cream stick, which slid across and was converted into 10 matchsticks. Okay, so now Sunita, how many matchsticks do you have now?
Got 10 and 3, 13 matchsticks.
Okay, beautiful. Rushida also responded with that, 13. Beautiful. So, can you remove 6 matchsticks now?
Easily.
Okay, go for it. So now Sunita's removed 6. How many matchsticks does she have left? Can you respond in the chat, please? She removed those 6 matchsticks. How many does she have left now? I'll show that in my PowerPoint as well. She's removing 6 matchsticks. So how many matchsticks does she have left? Rushida said, from 13, we take away 6, we're left with 7. Absolutely. And now you can remove your ice cream stick as well.
16. So I have to remove 1 ice cream stick for the 10th place.
Okay.
So yes, I've removed that.
Okay, beautiful. So what are you left with now?
I'm left with 27.
Beautiful. I see lots of you are responding in the chat similarly. So you're left with 27. 2 ice cream sticks and 7 matchsticks. I'm showing this on my slide as well. So you can see after the conversion, there used to be 4 ice cream sticks. Now there are only 3 ice cream sticks and there are 13 matchsticks. And then we can remove those 6 matchsticks and 1 ice cream stick, and we're left with 20 and 7, 27. So I want to hear your thoughts once again. What do you think is the advantage of using a hands-on approach like this rather than just teaching the written way, rather than just teaching theoretically? Looking forward to hearing your response in the chat here. What do you think is the advantage of using these sorts of hands-on activities for numeracy rather than just teaching kids the written work? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts here. And you can also respond to the second question here about what are the advantages of kids asking each other questions. Because here, we would give them 1 question in the module, and then they would make many, many more questions for each other. So while we're waiting for your responses, Sunita, what do you think? Why in ALfA, why do we use these hands-on approaches rather than teaching the theory first? Because that's the normal thing to do, is we start with theory and then we do the application. Whereas ALfA is the opposite, right? We're starting with the application and then we're learning the theory from that.
Yes, all textbooks are designed. So there's theory, 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 and at the end there is questions. And we're saying let the children make questions for each other from the beginning. And in doing so, they're going to learn a lot faster, a lot better, and more concretely. So the visuals on the page are the lesson. The children can understand through the visual what their task is. They repeat what's in the visual as the very first prompt. And for example, it might be 43 minus. 16.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the very first prompt. And you see it visually on the module, which is a half-page module often. And the second prompt is now make questions for each other. So we'll say, okay, give a number to your partner. For example, I might give him another number, 76 minus 19, and he might give me a number, 45 minus 8, or something like that. It may not even be 45 minus 8, it will be 45 minus 2. We're not saying you have to do it in a certain order. The traditional order is that you teach without borrowing, without carryover, and we're saying don't wait for that. Just let it be natural. So the first thing I would do is pick up a handful of matchsticks and ice cream sticks, and I'll put them in front of Tom, and I'll say, count how many these are, right? So he'll tell me how many these are.
Okay, that's 26, 46, 66.
Okay, and from that, I want him to subtract, let's say from this, he has to subtract 37.
Oh, 37.
Yes.
Gosh. Okay. So once again, I'll need to first.
So no, but I want to say, look, I don't have to answer this.
Okay.
I mean, you obviously know this very well.
Yes.
What I want to say is that I'm giving him a sum, and I'm asking him also to count how many there are. I'm asking him to take away a certain number, which I've had to think about. Which number would it be? To puzzle him more, I'll give him one that requires converting an ice cream stick. And then he gives me a handful of matchsticks and ice cream sticks and tells me what number, asks me what number it is, and then tells me which number to subtract from it. So I think that way we are learning the whole exercise by ourselves, and this is the beauty of it, that we're making questions from each other, and in that we're making many more questions than in a workbook, by the way, because in a workbook there might be 10 questions, there might be 20 questions, but here we can make umpteen questions. The very first one would be hands-on. Second would be verbal. I'll say, okay, just do this on paper. Tell me how many of this. Or second could be where I give a number and he works it out with matchsticks and ice cream sticks. And the third would be where he would be doing it in an abstract way, where I'm just giving like a notebook exercise, or as in a test paper, you get some questions. And in the process, the children are learning 3 times, 4 times, 10 times as much than when they do the other way around. Imagine, instead of doing this, you're writing down 5 questions on the board and saying, okay, everybody solve these 5 questions. What fun is there in this? And how much learning? Maybe you have something to comment on that. Is this better or that better? The kids are answering those questions, but which is better?
Yeah. I see many of you are commenting on this as we're going. So Patricia said, by asking questions, they learn from each other. That's really well said. And we feel that if you can ask a good question, that you're actually mastering the topic more, right? If you're, that's showcasing a higher level of learning if you're able to ask questions as well as answer them. It's making, Beatrice said, hands-on involves the mind and makes one understand better. Yeah. Allington said the kids can correct each other by providing immediate feedback. That's really well said. So I was looking at Sunita as she was working, and I would correct her if she had gone wrong. So rather than relying on the teacher to go around and mark the written work later, there's a control of error because the kids are using those hands-on materials. They can count them, they can check them themselves. So there's that control of error. Yeah, so most of you there are agreeing there that, okay, children are asking each other questions. This is Esther. It promotes child-to-child interaction. Experiential learning, this is Usha. Experiential learning, fun, enhances curiosity, and thereby escalates learning. Absolutely. So you can see that these hands-on activities, they're both fun and they take learning deeper, right? If you're just doing it in written form, you're not going to understand it as clearly. Whereas when you're doing it by hands-on, the written work is also important. We're not saying don't do the written work, do the written work, but the written work, that really helps you understand it more deeply. So just as we move to another numeracy activity, I think, should we not show this just yet?
No, I think it's fine. Go ahead and show that.
Yeah.
This is, we don't need to do another numeracy activity just yet. We can do it later. I think it's a good break.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is one of the materials which you'll be getting as part of your as part of your trainer's kit, right? You'll be receiving this teacher handbook, and this is basically stepping you through the what an ALfA teacher does in the classroom. So if I just flick through some of the pages of this, I don't think it's going to be very legible. Can I just flick through some of the pages, please? Yeah, if I think my clicker is not working. So yeah, if you flick through some of the pages, please. Okay, I do apologize here. We've got some sort of technical issues happening, it looks like. Not sure whether we're showing the PowerPoint or the PDF here. That's fine. But I'm just appreciating the comments you're dropping here. So Annie said, a child gets the feeling of accomplishment and are confident when they're able to ask and tell, peer learning. Alina said, yeah, okay. Beatrice said, asking each other helps children have good communication skills. Absolutely agree, Beatrice. So it's about much more than just the numeracy and literacy. It's about having good communication skills. Just checking, am I still audible here? Okay, that's great. We're asking each other questions. It helps them to understand the process. That's really well said. So asking each other questions demonstrates a much higher form of learning. Rather than just answering questions takes one level of understanding, but to be able to ask questions and also to explain to somebody else, that demonstrates a much higher level of learning. So we're going to do some more numeracy activities. I think maybe you've done this hands-on activity before, the subtraction one, but possibly you haven't done fractions, right? Fractions can also be done in a very fun hands-on way. So if you haven't gotten one, please grab a piece of paper, right? Just grab a piece of paper, and we're going to use a square of paper for this fraction activity. So just grab a paper. You'll also need a pen for this. If you don't have one yet, please pick it up and grab it.
Why don't you do the book?
Where's the paper?
That's something. No, just do the book.
Okay. No, now it's working.
Okay.
Okay, it's working now. Great. So it looks, yes, still some technical issues we're having here. Apologies about that. But I think now, hopefully, we'll be able to see. Yeah. So if you can grab a paper and pen, right? That's all you'll need for this activity. And take a square of paper, if possible. And we're going to be doing, we're going to represent the fraction sum half plus 1/8. So Sunita, you can also do this with me, and whoever's watching, please do this together. So we're going to first fold the paper in half, and we'll color in half of the paper. So fold the paper in half, color in half. So we're representing the fraction 1/2 using our hands-on materials. Okay, you can maybe post in the chat box when you're done. So I've got my paper here, and I've colored in half of it. Please post in the chat box when you've done this. Okay, Sunita's also almost there, and please do post in the chat. So we've colored in half the paper. Great. Most people are done. Great. Wonderful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to keep folding the paper to form eighths. So let's fold it again. Sunita, how many times more will you have to fold the paper to make it into eighths?
So we fold it once to make it into half, fold it a second time to make it into quarters, fold it a third time to make it into
eighths. Great.
Into an eighth. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what we used to have as 1/2, how many eighths is that?
8.
So there's
8 eighths.
So there's 8 papers. There's 8 squares or 8 rectangles on your paper now, right? Of those, how many are colored in?
4.
Okay, great. So our 1/2 became 4/8. Now we can color in another 1/8. So let's color in another 1/8.
An extra 1/8, not on the same side.
Not the same side, a different 1/8. Let's color that in as well. And now looking for your response in the chat as to what answer we've got total. What's 1/2 plus 1/8? What did you get total? Looking forward to your response in the chat here. So we took 1/2, we colored in the 1/2, we folded the paper again, we colored in another 1/8, and now what do we have in total? Looking forward to your response in the chat.
Yes, Dr. Nair.
Yes, 5/8, great. Rushita said, yeah, one part is shaded out of 2 equal parts, and after multiple folding, it is 8 equal parts out of 16. Okay, so Rushita, maybe you folded one
One
too
more
many.
time. One
We
more
only
time,
needed to
yeah.
fold to make 8s.
Yeah.
Patricia said also, yes, 5/8, great. That's what I've got as well. If I hold it up to the camera. So I've got 8 rectangles on my sheet of paper, and 5 of them are colored in. Beautiful. So I wanted to do this activity together because it shows that hands-on activities, sometimes we think, okay, hands-on activities are good for kids, they're good for really simple concepts, but they're not helpful for more complex concepts. But I think nothing could be further from the truth. I think, even complex concepts, harder things like fraction addition and how to equalize a denominator, that really works beautifully through a hands-on activity like this. So the ALfA books, they're there for foundational literacy and numeracy, but they take you to a grade 3 level or even a grade 5 level in some
So,
instances.
for example, here it is the square of a number.
Mhm.
So when you fold once,
Mhm.
you get 2 is to the power of 1.
Mhm.
When you fold twice, you
Yep.
get 2 to the power of 2. When you
Mhm.
fold 3 times, you get 2 to the power of 3,
Mhm.
and so forth.
Yeah, so we're learning about powers, we're learning about fractions, how to equalize the fraction denominator, how to add fractions. You could see, if you were doing subtracting fractions, Sunita, do you have a thought? How would we subtract fractions like this?
Oh, you just cut one of those away.
I guess
Isn't
we just
it?
need to rub one out.
Rub one of these out. You
Yeah,
know, the ones that
yeah.
you've selected earlier.
Yeah, yeah. So we can adapt these activities to teach more different concepts, but the whole idea is that, yes, activities are there not just for the basic concepts, but also for the more advanced ones.
Fabulous. Now we can go back to the ebook. I think they have it ready. The
Okay,
technical
great.
team.
Great.
Yeah. So the teacher handbook
Mhm.
that you'll be getting, and you can share with others.
Mhm. So
Can
if
we
I
go to the
just-
next page, please? It's B. Please go on.
Yeah, so the teacher handbook we'll be sharing with you, right? You'll be able to, this will be a reading for you, right? And it's well structured. It's talking about, okay, what the learning objectives of ALfA are, what the principles of ALfA are, and then it talks about the 7 steps of an ALfA classroom. If we just flick to the next page. So I think the font is too small here.
Can you make it bigger, please?
Can we zoom in?
Zoom in on the top part.
Much better. So these are the 7 steps of an ALfA classroom, which will be very important for us to train teachers in. Sunita, would you like to speak to these 7 steps?
Sure. I mean, the very first one is to normalize the class. That means a new normalization, because children are used to raising their hands and running to the teacher and otherwise not paying attention. And only some children raise their hands, not all. So normalization is working in pairs, which is the second point. How to make those pairs is randomly. That's the second point. Third is to give demo of whatever the activity is going to be, and that 3-part demo where you demonstrate, 2 children come to the front and demonstrate, that the whole class does. Fourth is get the whole class to do the same, which is of course elaboration of the previous one. And then the pairs are asked to make questions for each other, like we've done a few times here. And then we take feedback periodically. That is another part of the ALfA process, where we'll say, okay, we've done 5 modules. Now let's take a quick feedback. And so the teacher will ask multiple choice questions verbally or from a screen or from the board, or she'll give it on pre-prepared chits of paper or whatever she wishes, and she or he wishes. And then the teacher is able to collect the answers and see how well the class is done, and accordingly decide the next course of action. And even then we say don't teach if possible, and whenever possible don't teach. Repair the children, let them find each other's other who know, and let them sort it out themselves. And the last part is to review the concepts as necessary, but in this particular manner.
Yeah. If we just focus on the bottom part of this page for a moment, it's a good resource here about how to make pairs, which you can also use in your trainings, by the way. So teachers will be using this in the classroom, and you can also use this in your trainings. So one method would be a lottery. So you can ask training participants to each write their name on a piece of paper. You bring that forwards, and then you shuffle them and you draw them two at a time. So that's a fun way. Another option is similar, where you can write chits of paper from 1 through to say 20. So supposing there's 40 participants in the training, you write from 1 to 20 twice on separate chits of paper. You shuffle them up, you distribute them such that everybody gets one chit each, and then you say, okay, everybody roam around the room and find your partner who has the same number chit as you. So if I've got 13, I'm roaming the room and looking for somebody else who has the number 13, and then I'll be a pair with them. A further technique shown here is musical chairs, which is a lot of fun too. I recommend you try this in your training of arrange the chairs in pairs, have play a song, and then when you have everybody dance around the room, and when you pause the song, everybody sits down in the nearest chair, and they become a pair with the person who they sit next to. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to make
Tom,
random
this could
pairs.
be a little troublesome if you don't plan it quite right. Because you're sitting with your pair and you walk around with your pair, you are more likely to go and sit with the same person. So yeah, that's also very nice, but you have to think ahead
Sure.
as to how you're going to do it.
Sure.
For example, ask the children to shuffle around in the first place
Yeah.
before they go to musical
Oh
chairs.
yeah, definitely.
And 2 days ago, I tried this out in this
Mhm.
government school with 1,000 children,
Okay.
where we had the children come out with their chits of paper and run around, find each other in the playground, and then join hands with them, take a walk around the school and come back to their class. So they did that twice, and therefore they got to do some kinesthetic activity at the same time.
Really nice. Wow. So yeah, if I just flick forward 1 or 2 pages here, I just want to showcase that, okay, there's these 7 steps, right? And they're all explained here. So obviously you'll be discussing some of these things in the training, but it's also this, we'll be giving this to you as a reading material for yourself to get familiar with, and you can also share this with training participants. So yeah, now let's dwell on this. So if we just zoom in on this page a little bit, we have these special modules about how to teach reading, how to teach writing, how to teach arithmetic. So yeah, it's a bit of an introduction talking about whole language and phonics, and then we show a typical page of the book, right, and the different parts of that page. So you can see there at the top, there's the part where learners are asking questions of each other. What picture is this? What's its first sound? This, by the way, is the Hindi book. Lots of people were asking for Hindi earlier, so your wish has been granted. There's the box there at the bottom in which the kids are asking each other questions and forming new words. And you can see at the bottom of the page here, it's showing that there's a QR code which links to a video. So there's a lot of good resources packed into this book. This next page shows you how the different modules of the book fit together. So modules 1 to 10, this is for a Hindi book. Modules 1 to 10 show words without matras. So these are really simple, mainly 2 and 3 letter words. Module 11 to 18 has more practice passages. And then modules 19 to 42 teach matras, which are a form of vowel symbol in Hindi. And then there's more passages for comprehension and role plays. So this teacher handbook shows you the basic breakup of the book. It's like a companion to the book. The ALfA books, they also stand alone, like they have a lot of prompts and notes in them. But this teacher handbook we wrote to provide a bit of extra information for teachers about how to use these books to maximum effect.
So I want to remind ourselves that the booklets are very thin. The reading booklet in Hindi, which has 52 letters and 13 plus what we call matras, which are sort of accents on the consonants or pronunciation changes for that particular letter with a particular matra. And so it's very complex in a way. And all this, the children learn with just 32 pages of the reading book. They learn to read from ground zero. They can read a newspaper after those 32 pages of the booklet, I should say. And that booklet is shared between 2 children, and belongs to the school. So it means the carbon footprint is just 16 pages. And when it's shared among 3 different classes, the carbon footprint goes down to something like 5 to 6 pages per child, per subject. Then the writing book is even more surprisingly thinner. It's just, guess what? 12 pages. That's all. And that's all you need to learn writing from ground zero to be able to write full text. That's the foundational level. And once you can write whatever here is given, you can write anything in Hindi. And then comes the numeracy book, that's 28 pages long. And again, if you share the 28 pages, there's 14 pages per child for the subject of mathematics. And you only have to do all of this, the total addition of 72 pages divided by 2 children, 36 pages. You only have to do this in once in your lifetime. Because once you've mastered these skills, you don't need to do it again. Maybe the next year you'll come and revisit again, but that's not necessary because you're already ahead of the game. You'll be already reading full-blown text from your textbooks and newspapers and storybooks. So there's no need to revisit these books again. And this can start as early as pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, grade 1, 2, and 3. And you only need to do in these 4 or 5 years just once. Of course, if you're very young, you're only doing a part of it, then you revisit the next year.
Yeah.
And so that's it, twice in a 5-year period or once in 5-year period. Imagine that. You don't need any more textbooks after that. Everything else is like icing on the cake. You read to kind of brush up your Hindi or read interesting texts or read storybooks and maybe read even more compelling, difficult text and comprehension.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's pretty dramatic when you think of its implications.
Yeah.
72 pages for 2 subjects, that is 36 pages per child, 2 subjects, and divide further per subject. It is only, how many pages would that be?
Oh, that's
36 divided
36.
to?
Oh,
18 pages per
18.
subject on average per child.
Yeah.
So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very, very easy. Number one. Number two is very quick. So that's why we say it's 10x or more than 10x faster. It is effective, as you can tell yourself. It is something that, once done, you don't need again. It does not mean it's a bridge course because this should be the modus operandi for children learning language and mathematics everywhere in every classroom. It's not that this year the children have, understood how to read. Next year we go back to the old methods. Would that be a desirable way to go? No. So we want it to be modus operandi. And to the extent that the countries are beginning to adopt this, like we have the entire country of Maldives that has taken it up. And 2 of our trainers are going on the 18th of this month to Maldives to train teachers there. So, we want trainers like them and like you to go and train an entire nation. Can you believe that? And if that nation takes it off, then many more nations might look at it, because if the results are so quick and so compelling, I think everybody would be interested. So you'll be the pioneers, you'll be the ambassadors of change, you'll be the ambassadors of ALfA, you'll be the trainers who'll make things happen.
Absolutely. Wow. And I just want to share a little bit more of that teacher handbook because I think it is a really powerful resource. So as you saw there, back in the teacher handbook, you saw that there were, so there's those different pages which showcase how to do reading, writing, and arithmetic. Then there's these various, descriptions about different aspects of ALfA. So yeah, if we just flick through a couple more pages, please. So we're talking about how to teach numeracy, how to teach English. Flicking a couple more pages forwards, please. Yep. A couple of pages forwards.
Ulta jao. Dusri taraf jao.
So this is also explaining some of the benefits of ALfA. So this is going to be a powerful resource which you can share with your training participants. You can give them after they complete the training. It can also be a nice little reward for once they do the quiz. Yeah, just flicking forwards. Perfect. A couple more pages, please. Okay, great. Yeah, a few more pages, please. So I just wanted to show you this, and we'll be sharing you the PDF of this so that you can look through it in more detail. Yeah, so we're talking about the different books of English as well. If we just flick 2 more pages. Okay, great. So we're talking about, these are some of the key topics which we cover during the ALfA training. We also give them in the handbook. So talking about the distinction between encouragement versus praise and reprimand. Now, if we scroll down here, we're also looking about how ALfA completes the Nipun goals. Nipun is India's program for achieving foundational literacy and numeracy. And if we flick forwards again, there's ALfA being good for the environment. This is just what Sunita was dwelling on, about how it's only 72 pages. how ALfA develops the 6C skills, which was when we wrote this. Now we're counting it as 8C skills.
Yes, we are going to
So-
8C skills. We've revised our thoughts on this. 6Cs are not enough. What we also need is the skill C skill of connectedness, and connectedness is missing. This is sambandh in Hindi. You know how we develop. We may work together, but we may not have that connectedness. So how is connectedness nurtured? It's not just that we are facing each other and working. We're changing pairs every day. We're learning to work with special needs children. Special needs children, like supposing I'm a special needs child, I'm dyslexic anyway, and if Tom is kind to me and we work together, develops a very beautiful relationship, and also a sense of empathy, and that emotional connection is there. So social, emotional, and mental well-being comes from that connectedness. So that's one C we've added. And the other last C that we've added is climate consciousness. We're doing climate consciousness, but we are not able to put it in the framework. So we decided to put it in the framework. So it's now 8C framework, 6 plus 2 more.
Yeah. So we also talk a bit about the different learning materials that teachers will require. Now, many of these materials, you'll see there's a distinction there. Some of the materials we provide in many of the countries where we're working, but then there's a lot of materials which the children themselves arrange. You can see there newspapers, sand or flour to put in a tray for writing practice, beans, buttons, pencils, etc., things that you were just using now. So there's a lot of these materials which kids can themselves bring from home, and that's also a fun process for them, and it's a way to really deeply involve them in the learning. So yeah, this teacher handbook is a useful resource for you to use yourself and also to share with the people who are training. Yeah, perfect. So these are some of the common FAQs which which we get when we run trainings. Questions like, well, some children already have literacy skills, so what will they learn from ALfA? What happens if two weak children, so-called weak children, are sitting together? So this is kind of the FAQs of ALfA. So it's definitely good to familiarize yourself with this, because these are some of the questions that you'll be facing when you start training people. Yeah. So we can move on from this. Yeah, okay. I think that's all I wanted to share with you from this book, but we'll be sharing this teacher handbook with you. So please do have a read of it. It's a really useful resource.
So one of the things that you can also help us do is, as you're launching in, say, Zimbabwe or some other country, that you can adapt this to the local needs. And like we've mentioned, Nipun Bharat, you can mention any of the goals of the government there, and create those demonstration values for achieving those in a very, very quick span of time.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to be sharing you a set of resources, but we want your help as well to adapt these resources to your local context, right? So we're going to be sharing you PowerPoints, videos, and so forth. We want your help to develop them in more different languages, to add, your local footage, your local pictures, and all of those things.
Yes,
that's going to make
exactly.
it much more powerful.
Yeah.
So that's great. If I pull up my PowerPoint again, I can show you exactly what resources we're going to do. But okay, I think we've got to do this one, Sunita. I know you, this is a really fun one. This is our final numeracy activity maybe. And I think it's one that you guys haven't seen before. So 6 plus 4 equals 4. Just move one matchstick to make this equation true. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts in the chat box. You can post. It's quite a creative piece of maths, this one. And I'm going to put you all on the spot here. 6 plus 4 equals 4. How can you move a matchstick to make this equation work? This is not what we often think of as maths, but yeah, it's a really good way to integrate creativity with the maths process. Creativity and logical thinking. I'm going to make the equation here myself as well. And I'm really interested to hear your thoughts in the chat, what you can do to make this equation come true. Meanwhile, as you're thinking about this, stewing on it, 6 plus 4 equals 4. You can see we're quite creative in how we use our matchsticks and ice cream sticks. It's not just for ones and tens, it's also in different ways. 6 plus 4 equals 4. Okay, I'm also going to acknowledge a couple of good questions that have come up in the chat. So Rushita said, I have not received any FLN resources. I don't know if I will receive it today after the quiz. I thought it was supposed to be received after the first training quiz. Please help me with this concern. Okay, thanks for bringing that to our attention, Rushita. I'm very sorry about that. So I hope, yeah, we will contact you about that. If you can drop us your email, maybe. If you look down in the comment section, in the feed of this video, right, you'll be able to see our email address. I'll ask our technical team to just
And
put
a
that there.
WhatsApp number also.
Our email address and our WhatsApp number. So if you just reach out to us, definitely, I think most people have received the link to the materials. So we're sharing the e-materials. You should be able to receive that. And if you haven't yet, we'll definitely be sharing with you at the end of today. You haven't received any handbook. Yes, we have not shared the handbook yet. This is hot off the press, right? We've just been writing this. So this is the first time we've shown anybody. So we'll be sharing it with you. When you complete the quiz today, we'll be sharing you the handbook and also the videos which you can use in training and various different materials.
So this is only for trainers. It is not available to teachers just yet.
Directly.
It's for the trainers.
Yeah, we're sharing it with you. You're the first people to receive it. Okay, so I see some different ideas are coming in about how to make this equation true. And
I got it.
Annie and Sunita have both found a great solution. 0 plus 4. So we're just moving this matchstick from 6, making it 0. That's nicely done. Very nice. Okay. Aisha said I sent mail but didn't get. I do apologize, Aisha. So yeah, I'm requesting my team
We
to
can
make
show
a note
here.
of this.
एक बार दिखाइए. ये है ना? 6. This is 6.
Mhm.
Okay, we're taking this one and putting it like this, so it becomes 0.
Yeah, great. So 0 plus 4 equals 4. Now, I'm going to astonish you by saying that there's actually another solution to this as well. And yeah, so does anybody come up with a different solution? I see most of you have come up with this question, this 0 plus 4 equals 4. I'm interested if anybody came up with a different solution as well. Zero plus 4 equals 4 is a good one. Sunita's working and seeing if she can find another one.
Yes, I have.
Oh, you've done it. Well done.
Yeah, I found it.
Okay. If we just show again what Sunita did.
Yeah.
She did 5 plus 4 equals 9.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
So moving this matchstick from the 6 to make the 9, the final 4 and 9 instead. 5 plus 4 equals 9. Great. Nice. Okay, great. That was a bit of fun. So yeah, again, well, let me ask you in the chat. Let me also ask you, Sunita, what do you think, what are we learning from this activity? What do you think is the benefit of doing an activity like this? It's a bit stressful. I'm sorry, I made you do it on
No,
live.
I think, a lot of times we're saying similar things because actually, I mean, it is stretching the mind, is getting a child to become very creative, critical thinker.
Yeah.
It's also trying to see with a new eye from a new angle. And this is something we don't do. We are very prescriptive.
Yeah.
You know, that answers are very obvious.
Yeah.
Here we're saying, no, it's not an obvious answer. And thinking out of the box. Of the common. So there are a lot of benefits, perhaps these others as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody else came up with 8 minus 4. Oh, that's also a good solution. Arif, wow. 8 minus 4. Very
That's
good.
clever.
Very clever.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant.
Nice, Arif.
Yes.
Wow.
Arif, well done.
Wow.
Yes, 8 minus 4 also works is equal to 4.
Wow. So a lot of people, I'm just noting that quite a few people have not received the resources for literacy and numeracy. So I hope you did the quiz last time. You should have received.
Yes, but we will double check
but
because
we'll check
it could
that,
be
yeah.
at our end something not working
I
quite
apologize if
smoothly.
could be an error from our end. So yeah, please do the quiz today as well. And we'll be sharing you both the links to the ALfA materials, right, which are available there on our website also. So you can also just check out our website. You can see the materials are there. They're freely available. But we'll also be sharing you extra materials today, which are not publicly available. This is for you to become a trainer, right? So the teacher handbook and also some of the videos which we use in the trainings. So I think that's a good time now actually to segue into that. If I pull up my PowerPoint again, exactly what we'll be sharing you today. So I'm just going to flick back through all of those maths activities, which were a lot of fun. And so these are the materials which we're going to be sharing with you. Yeah. Okay, so this is the trainer's kit which we are preparing, which when you complete the quiz today, please do fill in your correct email address and we'll be sharing you these things. So Sunita, would you like to speak briefly? There's 5 parts of the trainer's kit. What do each of these entail?
Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. We have the training schedule, which is an indicative schedule, which you can, tinker with, depending on whether it's online, offline, which kind of time frame you have, and so forth. Whether you're doing it in 2 parts, 1 part, and so forth. The teacher handbook you just saw, which is a good starting point, depending on the country and language, you will probably need to work with us to finalize its new version, which probably won't take long because already there. And then we will be giving you PPTs. Again, they'll need adapting because we'd love to have pictures from your environment. Also, the text will be in the languages that you're working with, like Shoshona and some others. Videos, of course, we'll be sharing with you as well. As your teachers implement that change, we will find that making videos, or teachers will be making videos of their classrooms, which you will collect on a WhatsApp group and forward to us, and we'll then make videos for your country as well. So we have all the staff here to provide a backup to you. You just send us the videos from the classrooms, and we'll make exactly same videos from your country and with your children and teachers. And then, of course, the quizzes is a fantastic platform, QUIZIZZ, and that provides access to quizzes that we have made, as in QUIZZES. So these are multiple quiz that we have made, and we'll be happy to pass them on to you. And again, they'll need some kind of working in your own language. And maybe with consultation, we can add or subtract some questions. But the quizzes platform, as you have already tried out, is fantastic because you get instant feedback. You're also able to improve your score, and you can take both opinion survey as well as you can take the actual questions.
Yeah.
So we'll provide that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's quite a good set of materials, as you were saying. So the training schedule, right? If I just show you briefly that, we've given that as a breakup for 4 sessions. So sometimes when we get the chance, we run a really detailed workshop in which we run a couple of hour sessions 4 times. So starting with an overview of ALfA, like we started today, and then going for a deep dive into the numeracy, also into the literacy, and finally looking at the roles of an ALfA teacher. So we've got the detailed breakup of this. We've also got the teacher handbook, which we were sharing with you just earlier. So we'll be giving that. We've got the PowerPoints, right? Which again, we've got a few different versions of to be used for online or offline and as a single session or more detailed. We've got the videos. So normally the way we use the videos, as you will have realized, is we play a video and then we ask a question about it before discussing it. So the videos are there. They're a really good guide. They're a good prompt for starting a discussion and for hearing the audience's responses.
Also to see inside a classroom, because many a times, even in the physical training, if you just get them to do activities and so on, they still wonder what would it look like in a classroom.
Yes.
So it's really lovely to be able to show you, share with you
Yes.
this classroom implementation of the ALfA.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Both in the village context and in the private school context, as you saw here.
Yeah. So as Sunita mentioned, we need your help here. We've already got quite a few videos, but we're looking to always make more videos. So as you start implementing ALfA in your classes or in your nearby schools classes, please take footage. We'll be able to help put it together. And we want to create a real good repository of videos, especially videos in different languages as well, and videos taken from different contexts. So that would be really appreciated. Okay, so these are some of the videos we've got. We've got, I think, about 12 or 15 of the training videos. And then there's quizzes, of course, which we'll be moving on to very soon. We'll be giving you a quiz today. So yeah, this is really wonderful. So I think now is a good time maybe to take some feedback from you and to hear from you anything else at this stage which you feel like you want. Any questions you have, any further ways that we can help empower you, right? We've got about 45 minutes left or so of what we'd scheduled. So I think it's a good time to just open the floor for any questions. I apologize, realizing that some of you have not received the materials yet. Please do the quiz today, share us your email, and we'll make sure you definitely get those materials.
Yeah, just WhatsApp us and
Yeah.
we'll be able to handle this.
Yeah.
Hawa is saying that she's facing network challenges. Yes, you can watch this later on YouTube.
Yeah.
They all get stacked up in our YouTube channel called Devi Sansthan. So if you look for Devi Sansthan on YouTube channel, you'll see our logo and recognize it. Click on that. You'll see a lot of playlists. One of them is on MOOT. And you'll see them actually in the front also, because most recent activities show up earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you just go to the right date and you'll see that that particular training is stacked up there.
Yeah. So yes, I saw there was an earlier question as well about the Hindi training. So yes, please do check out the recording of that. That was happened on the 14th and 15th of March. So yeah, please check that out.
Also, if you subscribe, then you get notification of our next training.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
another thing. That if you are able to subscribe, or I'd like you to try and subscribe,
Mhm.
because you'll then hear about other trainings. As we
Mhm.
multiply,
Mhm.
imagine how many trainings will stack up if
Mhm.
all of you are to do training,
Mhm.
and in the same modality, we're able to put them on our channel,
Mhm.
YouTube
Mhm.
channel.
Mhm. Yeah. Choice of Crusader has said training sessions should not be so long. Okay, thanks. That's really good feedback. So we also recognize that, yeah, training should be short and snappy. So maybe, hopefully, as you run your trainings, we've been taking 3 or 3.5 hours, but maybe we can cut that back a bit further. Maybe you can help us also in really cutting it back and keeping to the key concepts. Troy, you're saying better if it's 1 hour. Wow, that's a real challenge. So we look forward to you being able to do that. Yeah, I've run some trainings in 1 hour, but it is hard because we've got so many different interesting activities to do, which we want people to get, a good sense of it. But yeah, I agree. We always need to try to pare back and stick to the core. Beatrice is asking how we're going to get the teacher handbook. So yes, we're going to be sharing that with you today after you do the quiz. Rushita was asking, I'm wondering how my journey of a trainer will look as I'm working in a private school. So will the training happen weekends? Sunita, would you like to address Rushita's question?
Yes, absolutely, Rishita. Many people in the school system also prefer a weekend training, and online training can be done in the evening because,
Mhm.
for example, if you are, we are training often in the evening, like this time it's evening because it's more comfortable for some people in Central Africa.
Mhm.
And so training timings can be adjusted, and we found weekend trainings to be quite popular.
Mhm. Yeah. So definitely, we recognize everybody has different constraints. So not everybody, obviously, not many people are going to be doing this full time. So whatever time you can give, even on the weekend or in the evenings, it's going to be much appreciated. And I think a lot of participants can come at those hours.
Right. And Jay is saying that, this is a very late hour for women, especially.
Mhm.
Yes, you have to make meals and put children to bed. Very true. But we actually were aiming for this particular trainers training to accommodate trainers from many countries.
Mhm.
So we had to ourselves adjust to that idea
Mhm.
that it'll have to be in the evening. So I'm very grateful to our technical staff who are sticking with us as well at this
Mhm.
hour.
Mhm.
And a lot of our support staff are here as well. So I think it is definitely extraordinary, but then we can also do training in the mornings, and
Yeah.
you can come to those trainings
Yeah.
that are in the morning or some other time that are suitable
Yeah.
to you.
And in fact, that's why we need your help to be able to run trainings more frequently and at different times, different languages. That's why I want to decentralize this whole training process, right? It shouldn't just be us training. We want you to spread the message far and wide.
Okay, so WhatsApp number is 740, I'll write it down, 840 6000.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's a +91 for India.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so we also want to hear, you can keep going with the feedback, and we also want to hear any further questions that you have, any things that you feel like you need a bit more help, a bit more detail on before you sign up. We also want to hear what excites you about this prospect of becoming an ALfA ambassador. We already heard a bit at the start of the session. Many of you shared beautifully. As we've discussed it all, we've discussed what the role entails, some of the activities we've done together, what the skills are that you require. So what is it that excites you about this? We're interested to hear.
I think given the fact that we've been moving pretty fast today with the training, we're not repeating some of the activities and so forth, we could actually end this a little sooner. So
Yeah,
that's a good
definitely.
news.
We will.
Okay.
Just think. Yeah. So yeah, definitely we haven't done, we've got a lot more activities, all those videos which we'll be sharing you. You can also check out our previous trainings on this YouTube channel. Okay, so this is lovely. Veena says it's a challenge and I'm thrilled. Fantastic, Veena. We're also excited with you. Jaya said child-centric playway method, activity-based self-paced learning. That's the most exciting part, absolutely. Rushita said, I will be well equipped, make learning fun, and help others to love the journey of facilitating learners. That's beautiful. Very beautiful. Being an ALfA ambassador is great, where you are part of the changing the concept of learning, especially in the case of children. Yes, Chanchal, absolutely. That's what we need your help for. Because changing the education system, you know, it's easy to talk about, but very hard to do. We've been trying for a long time, and we definitely need all hands on deck for that. We need everybody's support. Choice said, learning by doing, absolutely. So great. We're really appreciating your feedback there. Now, we're also going to share you the quiz link, right? So this is a quiz which we've designed for you guys today, which is a bit about, you know, your role as an ALfA trainer, what that role entails, what the skills are of an ALfA trainer. It's also got some opinion poll questions so that we can gather more data. So yeah, once again, please do the quiz. Please fill in your email address there, and we'll be able to share those, the trainer's kit with you, the teacher handbook, the videos, and so forth. Somebody was asking, how can we do the quiz from an earlier training? So if you go back on YouTube and you check out the recordings of that, in the comments, there will also be the quiz there, the quiz link. So you can go and click on that link. Some of those quizzes will still be open, I think, so you can go and try it out. Yeah. So I'm just posting the quiz link in the chat here.
I'm so pleased to hear from Beatrice Tenyati. She's saying that I will be able to train other teachers at my school, work to improve literacy and numeracy skills. I'm going to be a life changer in my community. That sounds awesome. That's just brilliant.
Yeah, beautiful. Usha says, being the change I wish to see in the education system. More I learn, more I teach. The more I teach, the more I get to learn. Really well said. Wow. Jeanette says, to be a galvanizer. Yeah. More fun, more learning, game-based. Yeah, that was Chanchal. Great.
Like baby's day out. Brilliant.
So that's beautiful. So we've shared the quiz link for you there. It's a pretty short quiz today. So just go there. We're so excited to have you joining us on this journey. We know we're going to learn a lot from you and with you as well. And yeah, just keeping in mind the key roles, right? We're looking for help with in-person trainings, with help in online trainings, with networking and connecting with different government officials, different stakeholders. So all of those ways, as an ALfA ambassador, you'll be able to make a real tremendous difference.
Yeah, keep in mind, we're not working for profit. We're not working for private schools in the sense that they can afford to pay for things. Then let them pay. Pay you, in fact, for your training them. But let's not get tempted by that either.
Yes.
I think we should really be concerned about the underprivileged children and children in government schools, the underserved communities, as much as we can. Let's focus our efforts on them. They deserve this very, very quickly. By the way, there's an entry from chat from Mapu Melelo, and she's saying it's exciting because I'm going to start by putting in practice an ALfA classroom in my class for other teachers to learn and know that is doable. I think this is phenomenal because, yes, charity begins at home.
Definitely.
Do it in your classroom first and demonstrate it's working. And I think if you set the targets, for example, that in 1 month my children will be needing newspapers, or say 1 month and a half, I mean, everybody will be wowed. So get your class, set targets that are measurable and very quickly measurable, and that you can also showcase with.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's time for a final audience poll question, right? We want to ask you how many takeaways you had from today's training. I know today was a little bit different from trainings we've run in the past, a bit more experimental for us, as we're trying to discuss not just the ALfA process, but also how to train in the ALfA process. So we're interested to hear your feedback about how many takeaways, what takeaways you had. So you can keep posting in the chat about what your takeaways were, and we're also posting this as an opinion poll question. Sunita, I know we've learned a lot from today too, I think, right? We're talking about learning by doing. We're learning from our mistakes and from how to run these trainings. Yeah.
Yes, of course. And I think life is about learning from our mistakes. They are the stepping stones to our successes later on. So we embrace mistakes and we embrace challenges.
Yeah.
And I think so should our children not see them as failures, but see them as stepping stones. And
Yeah.
we certainly have learned a lot today,
Yeah.
how to do a trainer's training even
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
the next time.
Yeah.
So I think we can give you a lot better possibilities next time. But I'd like to know after this and in the quiz, how many of are truly interested in being a trainer.
Yes.
Because it could be that after you've seen the trainer's training, you say, no, that's not for me. So that's okay. I mean, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And we look forward to then engaging with you. I think we will be setting up a WhatsApp group
Yes.
for the trainers who,
Yes.
who say they wish to be trainers.
Yes.
We'll be setting up a WhatsApp group very quickly this week
Yes.
itself, coming week.
Yes.
And therefore, we'll be in touch with you more directly.
Yeah.
Because trainers are going to be our lifeblood
Yes.
and our connect to the world. And we really look forward to empowering you in every whichever way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be reaching out by WhatsApp, by email as well. So it is important when you do the quiz, please do fill in working email address so that we can reach out to you via that. And also we'll get your WhatsApp number and so forth. So, okay, if you haven't voted yet, please do vote. And I'm also just having a look at the comments. Yeah, great.
So what did you think of our squirrel?
I find it a bit distracting. Where is the squirrel?
Why is he jumping on trees? So you see this mountain in the back and how it's melting with the sun. And it's a reminder about climate change.
Okay.
And squirrels are a reminder that we keep making the effort.
Yeah, nice. Okay, great. I think it's time to close the audience poll and see what feedback you've given us there. Great. Wow, very nice. 78% said you had a lot of takeaways. 15% said quite a few. 5% said some, and those who felt they had none, they've already left by now. That's great. So we are enthused by your enthusiasm, and that's what we need, right, to be trainers. If we just remember those 7 Ps, right, we need passion is perhaps the most important. Of course, preparation, participation, pairing, all of these are important, but passion is the most important thing. So I think as you are here, you're passionate, that means you can be absolutely fantastic trainers.
Okay, I want to say also, the idea that some of you gave that we should do at least one classroom, our own classroom, or wherever we can get a classroom, in a government school or wherever. Let's do that, because when you create that center of excellence, you learn, where were the difficulties and so on. And we are communicating through WhatsApp. You can post pictures and videos of your endeavor and even of your training sessions of the teachers there. So document everything. Document, from the time you meet the principal of the school or the government official, document everything. And that way we get an insight, but also you create a story of your own, a historical journey of your own. It's all about change. And once that one classroom changes, then others will start to believe. We began very, very small. We began with one school community, where we did a lot of the experimental work. It's called City International School, Lucknow. And we work with the slum children in that school. We work with neighborhood children, and we work with adults. And we discovered a lot of things in working with them. And once we found that this ALfA thing was working, which wasn't, by the way, as easy as it appears now, it took 8 years to come to ALfA. And before 8 years, there was also research prior to that that has been incorporated here. For example, the idea of competing with yourself, not others. A lot of the soft side things that have come into ALfA are not just hardcore skills we have picked up or we have matured through the 8 years. And after that became successful, we were able to do a press conference, which you can also try. We did a press conference where we invited some of the top people of the city and of the government. We are in the capital city, so we were able to get the former chief secretary of Uttar Pradesh, who's also the mentor for this program. He's known our struggle all the years that we've been working on it, and he came and we saw the icing on the cake when our 5-year-olds were reading newspapers in both English and Hindi. And this is possible. This is entirely possible. It's all about that belief thing that we began with at the beginning. If you believe, these kids can do it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't believe, you don't even give them the opportunity. You don't give them the thought process, the buck up they need to say, yes, you can, and they can. And it's not pushing them. It's like they enjoy that. And they enjoy reading newspaper like dad or like mom. And the demand for newspapers has gone up in many schools we've been working with, including the government schools in the villages. They're now like, where's the newspaper? The children are asking.
Wow.
And so, invite people over, and we invited these bigwigs, and we also invited the press because we wanted eyewitness accounts. We didn't want just that, okay, we've done this and nobody knows about it. So there was a lot of introspection, and there was a lot of display, and teachers were so delighted because their children were doing so well. So it is glory for everyone.
Yeah.
The children, the parents, the teachers, the management, and of course the press was just totally flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Then we got emboldened, and we went from there to Delhi, which is the capital of India, as you know. And in Delhi, we did a conference at the Press Club of India. We took tiny tots, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, and they read the newspaper of that day in Delhi, both in English and in Hindi. And that just wowed everybody in Delhi. It is following that, or around that time, that I got a call from the Secretary for Education, Anita Karwal, who is the Secretary of India's Education. And she called me up and said, can you take 2 districts of ours that are both low-performing districts of India? So that was Shamli in Uttar Pradesh and Sambalpur in Odisha. And because of that work, we could scale up, see how it grows from one thing to the next. And lo and behold, 2 results of that work were in the same year. Within 5 months, we signed up a country. We signed up Maldives, and we signed up 15 districts of Uttar Pradesh from one that we began with just 10 schools initially, 10 plus 10, 10 in control group, 10 in implementation group, because we wanted to do a randomized control trial. And from that, it sprung into 15 districts within 5 months, and also a whole country. And many countries are in the pipeline. We're hoping some of you can go to a country representatives and mention what's going on here, and maybe they'll just give it a try.
Yeah.
And then we can grow bigger
Yeah.
from there on.
I think the real moral of the story is, from little things, big things grow. And that's why we need your help, right, to plant seeds in more different places. And we're sure that that's going to make a real lasting impact in education. I want to acknowledge that lots of people are commenting. It's really beautiful. Rushita said, I can see that my dream of being a trainer will come true very soon. Wonderful. We believe that everybody can be a great teacher, everybody can be a great trainer, because training is ultimately about sharing our experiences and empowering others, so we can all do that. Hawa said the session was lively. I learned new ideas. I'm going to train other teachers. Thanks, Hawa. Dhan Shri said, super excited to become a change maker. Absolutely. So are we. And I also want to acknowledge some people did not get the certificates. So very sorry about that. Definitely we'll be giving you a certificate here after this quiz. And if you have not received a pass certificate, please do reach out on the WhatsApp number.
What happens is the quiz link you have to copy and paste in your browser after the training, because sometimes you're on mobile.
Yes.
You only have 24 hours to finish the quiz.
Yeah.
And get your certificate. If you miss that chance and you try to do it later, it's difficult.
Maybe closed, yeah.
It's actually a very good platform. So I
Yeah.
don't imagine the problem are related to the technical part of things. But if they are, certainly we'll be able to help you.
Yeah.
We've helped a handful of people in
Yeah.
the past. So we'll ensure that you get your previous certificate
Yeah.
and even the one from this, if for any reason there are difficulties.
Yeah.
So copy and paste that link that we've given you. Will you please give it again,
Yeah.
Sammy?
Yeah.
And we can have it. You copy it and paste it in your browser and keep it in some place where you have a you don't lose it.
Yeah.
And then within the next few minutes, I hope,
Yeah.
but also you have a window of 24 hours
Yeah.
to finish doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, great. So I think, yeah, with that, we are really grateful for you. We're grateful for your being here, for your excitement, for your ability to help us reach out to more different corners of the world in more different languages. And so I think we're going to conclude with a video, right, which is describing a bit more of the work of Devi Sansthan, the story, and the ALfA process. So I'm sure you'll enjoy the video. That's what we're going to conclude with. And thank you so much. We're going to be in touch by email, by WhatsApp. We're going to share you these materials, and we're really excited to see the next steps on the journey. I think you are the future. You're the way that ALfA is going to spread further. You're the way that every child in the world is going to be able to benefit from this. So we are feeling very grateful. Yeah.
Thank you. Goodbye. See you soon. Thank you. Namaste. See you soon. Thank you for being here.
I'm Sunita Gandhi from India. I come from a family of educators running the world's largest school, which has served as a laboratory for my own research work in education, along with the slums and villages of Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh, which is India's most populated state. About 70% of the children in low and middle income countries cannot read since the pandemic. Unfortunately, the situation was far from ideal even before the crisis. This figure stood at 57% in 2019. We need to ask ourselves, how is it that hundreds of millions of children are unable to read even after completing 5 years of schooling? Progress towards closing the FLN gap has not been impressive. Children in grade 5 today require FLN skills today, not in 2030. We are facing a global literacy emergency. This requires immediate action. The question is what? We believe a key factor in this crisis is the lack of a transformative pedagogy. Outdated teaching methods are holding back the future of the majority of the world's children. We rarely question these methods we use to teach literacy and numeracy. Notably, there are two major approaches to teaching the skill to read. These are whole language, which is prevalent worldwide, and there is phonics, which research indicates is more effective. However, neither of these methods are producing results quickly enough to address the literacy emergency. After 8 years of experimentation and refinement, we have developed a program called ALfA, Accelerating Learning for All. ALfA is 10x faster. Children and adults are becoming both literate and numerate in under 45 days. Compare this with 3 to 5 years in current education. ALfA fosters by design the 6 C skills of collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity, character, and world citizenship. It is also a step towards an education for climate change, along with low to no carbon footprint. Children use existing materials such as beans, stones, leaves. They get climate conscious and they are resourceful in the process. ALfA does not rely upon unknown sight words. It also does not teach letters and sounds in isolation. Learning to read begins with the identification of known pictures and their corresponding first sounds. Children add sounds to make complete words from the very beginning. They work in pairs and take turns to make new words. We have discovered that the children learn faster this way. Without the need for letter recognition, children save 2 years or more. They get to read some 400 words within the first 15 days of ALfA. This sustains the children's interest in reading at higher levels. An ALfA teacher acts primarily as a galvanizer. For example, they pair up children randomly. They provide clear explanations for the tasks that the children need to perform in their pairs. The paired learning approach is well known. However, there are differences. Firstly, in place of occasional pairing, the children in ALfA learn exclusively in pairs. Secondly, the program's materials are tailored to paired learning, with small modules that scaffold from simple to complex and that build on prior knowledge of the child. Thirdly, ALfA utilizes prompts for each module that encourage deeper engagement, resulting in increased time on task and superior learning outcomes. The children are able to generate and solve a far greater number of questions and learn from each other when they're given the agency to co-create their own learning. This stands in stark contrast to the traditional approach of teacher-directed learning, which limits their agency. Such active engagement fosters greater understanding and retention, and the learning continues beyond the classroom. The outcomes are visible very quickly. We took a group of 5 to 7-year-olds to the Press Club of India in Delhi, where they read that day's newspapers in both Hindi and English. The children's ability to read the difficult language of the newspapers at such a young age surprised everyone present. Field results from the ALfA program are documented in a recent book by Harvard Graduate School of Education. In the first randomized control trial for government schools, the effect size was 0.23 for grade 3 and a whopping 0.89 for grade 5 just after 40 days. This exceeds the year-on-year learning gains commonly found in schools. The ALfA process is 10 times faster, which allows the class to focus on the process of discovering and learning rather than rushing through the syllabus. The ALfA app provides free access to the ALfA learning materials with a low or zero carbon footprint. The thin booklets use only 1/10 of the pages found in traditional textbooks and workbooks. The Literacy Now app has been adopted by 5 million children of Uttar Pradesh. ALfA is currently available in 30 languages of the world. Following the launch of ALfA in early 2022, we were invited by the Ministry of Education of India to implement the program last year in 2 low-performing districts of the country. This was a significant achievement for us. We were able to expand from 1 district to 15 districts in Uttar Pradesh and from 2 states to 6, and even to a country level in the Maldives, all in 2022. This demonstrates that ALfA can be successful at scale. ALfA's early successes have allowed us to forge partnerships with various organizations globally. This includes All Africa Students Union and the Forum for African Women Educationists, Teachers Without Borders, Dubai Cares, and World Climate School, among others. The ALfA program is expanding its impact through massive open online training, or MOOT, which has been highly effective according to 93% of respondents. 99% said they had takeaways from the MOOT. The program is now training the trainers globally so that they in turn can offer MOOT to others in their own languages and countries and in the physical settings also. We are encouraging countries to participate in a 45 days to FLN challenge. This involves dedicating just 2 periods a day for 45 days to FLN. This equates to some 10% or less of a year's academic timetable, but one which can leverage the rest of education. We conducted the first Global Policymakers Conclave to discuss system-wide reforms. This approach garnered endorsements from several policymakers, including Rajnath Singh, India's defense minister. We further aim to draw the policymakers' attention to a people's movement for adult literacy, as detailed in our book, Disruptive Literacy, a roadmap for urgent global action. This includes a comparative analysis of successful movements worldwide. It is essential that we prioritize the promotion and replication of the pedagogy of ALfA on a global scale. Having made a strong start on our journey of 1,000 miles, we now need all hands on deck to ensure that every last child and a vast majority of adults can learn the crucial skills of literacy and numeracy, and we can meet the SDG 4 targets before time.
कोरोना से पहले बच्चे पढ़ नहीं पाते थे, उनको काफी दिक्कत का सामना करना पड़ रहा था।
जिस टाइम ये कक्षा 3 में आए थे, बहुत कमजोर बच्चे थे। कुछ बच्चे 2 अक्षर वाले शब्द भी नहीं पढ़ पाते थे, कुछ को वर्णमाला का भी ज्ञान नहीं था।
जून की छुट्टियों में और कोरोना काल में जो भी इन्होंने पढ़ा लिखा था, सब ये भूल चुके थे।
लेकिन अब 2-4 बच्चों को ही छोड़कर जो डेली नहीं आ रहे, सभी बच्चे पढ़ने लगे।
इसके सहयोग से बच्चे पेयर लर्निंग में बहुत बेहतर तरीके से सीख पा रहे हैं। बच्चों का लेवल जो पहले 0 था, मात्र 15 या 20 दिन में बच्चे जो शेष हैं वो भी बहुत अच्छे से सीख पाएंगे।
जो बच्चे किताब नहीं पढ़ पा रहे थे, आज बहुत से बच्चे अखबार पढ़ रहे हैं।
देवी संस्थान के कार्यक्रम जो चलाया जा रहा है, ये FLN प्रशिक्षण वाला, वो काफी सराहनीय है। मैं बेहद खुश हूँ कि हाँ, मेरे बच्चे पढ़ पाते हैं, कक्षा 1, कक्षा 2 सभी बच्चे।
तो रिजल्ट बहुत ही उत्साहजनक और सकारात्मक है। जैसे कि देखने में आया, अटेंडेंस बच्चों की बढ़ी है।
एक भेड़िया गड्ढे में गिर पड़ा, उसने बहुत कोशिश की पर गड्ढे से बाहर नहीं निकल सका।
पाठ का क्या नाम है? एक दूसरे से प्रश्न पूछोगे?
सूरज की रोशनी कहाँ आती है? सूरज की अपनी रोशनी है, क्योंकि सूरज एक तारा है। की ओर से व्हाइट हाउस, रक्षा विभाग, पेंटागन और विदेश मंत्रालय ने अलग-अलग बयान जारी कर अपना
चलो बनवाओ संख्या कोई साथी से।
4405।
शाबाश। चलो बेटा, साथी को सवाल बोलो कोई।
7050।
7050।
2163।
2163 घटाओ इसको। सही क्या बेटा? इसने घटा करके क्या संख्या आई है?
4887।
वेरी गुड, बहुत अच्छा।
105 के 6 में गुना था।
वेरी गुड। एक लिखो स्कूल और एक बच्चा लिखो जगतपुर। शाबाश। घड़ी में टाइम बनाना है बेटा? घड़ी में टाइम देख के बता दोगे अब? 5:45 बनाओ। शाबाश शाबाश, बहुत अच्छे। 10:05। सही बनाया बेटा इसने? सही बनाया, शाबाश। चलो सामान खरीदो दुकान से।
100 का बुलेट बम दो, 10 के बीडी बम, 10 के आलू बम, 5 के काजू दे दो।
कितने हुए?
125 जी।
ठीक है। चलो बेटा इनसे कोई आकृति बनवाओ।
आयताकार।
शाबाश।
हमें ऐसे प्रयासों की जरूरत है जो फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी को न केवल प्री पैंडेमिक की स्थिति में बल्कि उससे कहीं ऊपर हमें पहुंचा सके। इस दिशा में मैं सुनीता गांधी जी को उनके कंसेप्ट और प्रोग्राम एक्सेलरेटिंग लर्निंग फॉर ऑल अथवा ALfA के लिए बधाई देना चाहूंगा, जो आप देश के विभिन्न हिस्सों में संचालित कर रही हैं। साथियों, इस प्रोग्राम के माध्यम से लोगों को 90 डेज में लिटरेट बनाया जा सकता है। मैं आशा करता हूं कि आने वाले समय में बड़ी संख्या में लोग इससे जुड़ेंगे और इसे सपोर्ट करने के लिए आगे आएंगे।
हाँ, मुझे ये किताब बहुत अच्छी लगी। मैं इसको पढ़ के आगे बढ़ना चाहती हूँ, इसलिए क्योंकि इसमें अच्छे अच्छे पाठ है। गणित में तो हमें पता ही नहीं लगा कि ये कब पढ़ाई हो गई। बहुत अच्छी पढ़ाई हुई है और खेल हुआ है। इस किताब को पढ़िए और जल्दी आगे बढ़िए।
बच्चों, अभी आपने जो गणित की संख्याएं सीखी, जोड़ना सीखा, ये सारी चीजें जो आपने सीखी है, इसको कहते हैं अल्फा टेक्निक। तो क्या आपको अल्फा टेक्निक से गणित को सीखने में मजा आया? Yes, ma'am। अच्छा लगा सबको? Yes, ma'am।
Today we will do question and answers, okay? So you have to copy it. Question number 1, the wall. Okay, and full stop. So you have to copy this question. What was Tim hitting at the wall? Tim was hitting a ball at the wall.
Who sat on a rat? The cat sat on a rat. Who sat on a mat? The cat sat on a mat.
So today, children, we will learn the table of 2. You have to learn the table by heart.
2 to the 2, 2 to the 4, 2 3 the 6, 2 4 the 8, 2 5 the 10. What is the first picture? Rishi. What is the first sound? Rick. What is the second picture? Sakur. What is the first sound? Sh. What is the third picture? Hun. What is the first sound? What word will you get when you add the three sounds together? Sh.
In traditional classroom, children fear marks and exams. In ALfA pedagogy, children are engaged in joyful learning. They are driven by curiosity.
Hello ma'am. Welcome ma'am. I want to buy few things. Yes ma'am. I want this pencil box. It is of 100 rupees. And I want this book. It is of 50 rupees. And I want this that. It is of 5 rupees. Plus 100. Plus 50. Plus 5. Equal to 155 rupees. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. Bye-bye. Bye.